based on the precedent that has already been set. But because Riot are being a bunch of soft about this, and probably because everyone is losing their mind, because apparently, you know, as long as you get enough people tweeting the same hashtag without even knowing what it's about, don't tell me that everyone who used that hashtag knew what it meant. It was #1 trending. The game gets replayed because Riot are soft as piss, and they give Acend 7 rounds. What do you mean? You think what? All the EMEA teams are going to get booted out?
Yeah, Secret could upset
Counterpoint. The only teams left in the semis could also be EMEA teams, fans. All right, people, it's that time again. Welcome back to Valoranting for the week of the 5th of December. Yeah, we know we're on your other monitor right now. That's fine. Of course, Champions is underway, but we've got a heck of a lot of stuff to sort of break down before Champions takes a little hiatus before we jump into, obviously, the finals. So let's get started. We're joined here today by special guest, Coach Psycho. Thank you for coming back on the show, man. Great to have you.
Great to see you guys. Vans and Uber, thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Vans, you got the, yeah, okay, all right. You're merched up. I'm feeling it. You got the MILF hoodie on.
Man, I love frogs.
Man, I love frogs. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah. What was it the Toronto Ultra hat? I mean, what's this about, bro? You Canadian or some shit?
I am Canadian. I'm Montreal. And then a good friend of mine, Dom Gelino, she used to be the GM of the Toronto Ultra, so I wanted to support her. Got to meet Anthony Methods, who was also part of the CDL for the Toronto Ultra, so I had to support him too. But man, I gotta say, you say that you know, most of the people have us on the second monitor. I have us on the second monitor, so I just wanted to say a big shout out actually to the hardcore people that are watching the show right now, as we are currently watching Champions as we're doing the show.
And of course, a big shout out to those that are watching us via VOD or on Spotify or whatever. Thanks for your support and for joining us. But let's dive in, guys. Let's not waste too much time. We're talking about Champions today. That's it. Before we get started, I'll throw you guys a quick topic to get your thoughts on. But yeah, obviously we need to break down what we've seen so far in Champions. We are in 4 group stages and they're almost done. So teams are getting eliminated as we speak. It's been quite a tumultuous couple of days. Vans, while Psycho goes and attends to the kettle, what are your thoughts though on T1 Steel just being announced yesterday?
So I love it. I've been hearing through the grapevines actually that Steel was supposed to join, or was trying to join Cloud9 with everybody else too, but it didn't work out because of like contract issues and stuff like that as well. So unfortunately that didn't pan out. But I mean, look at how C9's doing so far in Champions. Really great for Steel himself. This is a brand new world, a brand new day to be able to IGL for T1. That's going to relieve Curry potentially as the main IGL, which is going to be good. The roster itself, is Tim going to stay with the team or not? That's the bigger question. But I think this is a great addition into the future of T1.
Right, because right now, would it not be Steel, Thryfo, Skadoodle, Automatic, and Curry? Psycho, what are your thoughts here on Steel moving across to IGL this roster?
I think it's a solid move. I know David Denis has been looking for a main IGL for that team for quite a while. Curry's been doing a pretty good job, but definitely a younger IGL, has some growth. So bringing in a veteran IGL presence like Steel could definitely be a game changer for this roster. I know they're retooling a bit more heavily. It's not just the IGL they're swapping out, it's other players as well, but you know, we'll see. We'll see what the roster looks like next season.
Don had to get his MILF hoodie as well. What was yours, Mitch?
Got to represent.
Let's go, baby. Okay. All right. Matt, respect. I'm repping the C9 boys today because that post-match interview was fucking funny.
Yeah.
Also, I think David Denis looking for a human host to house his consciousness, right?
When we heard that the Steel minus 100 Thieves was announced, I was like, oh, here it comes. We were talking in the team chat, like, here comes the David Denis 2-minute video explaining why they picked up Steel. I'm ready for it.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
Where he says nothing at all, really. Where it boils down to, oh yeah, he just sees like a good pickup. Oh yeah. Shit! All right, let's talk about this fucking tournament, guys. Let's get cracking here because obviously right now Team Secret are playing against Vikings in an elimination game. We'll talk about that, but first of all, let's bring up this Group A bracket here. Of course, Champions has been going for the last like a week or so, almost a week here. And again, we're playing. What is it? Is it GSL style groups into? Is it single elimination finals bracket?
Correct.
I believe so. Yeah.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So GSL style. Right. So here's Group A: Acend, Vivo Keyd, Envy, and X10. And I think with people maybe underestimating what X10, the kind of damage that team could do, you know, maybe not thinking this was such a scary group. But now we kind of know better, guys. Especially, you know, seeing. I think the struggles that some of these teams had moving through the bracket.
I even think like once you take like an astral form view and look at it through like the whole bracket in itself, and once we finish talking about every single group, every group was like a group of death so far. There's been so many upset this tournament. There's been so many eco rounds won per turn in this tournament as well. There's been so many 6-6 and 8-4s that just turns around to like a comeback game. It's been an event where it's really hard to try to plan out or read out a script because we're getting shit coming out of left field.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about this series then, because we get Breeze first up. This is day 3, I think it was. So this wasn't like the first game of the event, but we have KO mirror match here. Both teams bring the KO in. Cruz has some difficulty throughout the course of this map, but Envy, they lose the pistol, I think, then they get off to a nice little run on the defense side, and then they look really scary on offense, guys.
For me, I'll let you take it after, Don, but for me, it's just it was like the first nice test actually for Envy at this point. It's like, I don't want to discredit X10 because we'll talk about him later, but I think this going into this matchup when you're like one of the clear favorites to win the tournament and you go against like potentially one of the teams that we haven't seen since Reykjavik with Patty Pan, also with the rumors going into Overwatch League after this event. And it's like, okay, well, exactly. It's weird, but at the same time, coming in as Envy, it's like, okay, we're confident. We could actually win this game. And it actually showed like it was a nice quote unquote warm up game here for Ye. And it looked pretty dominant on my end. I didn't see anything that really threw me off of how X10 played against Envy.
Yeah, for me, this matchup was interesting, right? Like, we're seeing a lot more of the KO on Breeze in particular. So going into this, the mirror KO matchup was awesome to see. But like when we were talking about groups of death and stuff, I think a lot of people credited that Fnatic, Vision Strikers, Cloud9 as that group of death. But for me, this was the group of death going into the tournament.
Okay.
X10 are no slouches. And Vivo Keyd with picking up MW0, who's an absolute stud in that region. It was a really scary team going into this event, right? And we could talk all day about, how that played out for them. But this matchup in particular, X10, obviously, fantastic team. We've seen that over the last few days. So this, for me, the 2-0 from Envy coming off the bat, I think more than anything is a testament to just Envy's form. But and less about how bad X10 is, because they are not.
For sure, but to ask you that question a little bit further on here, Don, because for me, when I'm looking at this as a potential group of death or upsets, it was more looking at Vivo Keyd against Acend and Vivo Keyd against Envy more than like the X10 team themselves. I think for me, I definitely underestimated that team, but I guess for you, it was you potentially had X10 getting second or third or something.
Oh no, I definitely would put X10 in my bracket, I had them as 4th in the group, right?
Okay,
but they're definitely still a good team. But you're right, it was those other 3 that really made it the group of death for me.
So really quickly, we see a fair few teams that are opting for like the Sova KO look on Breeze, right? Yeah. The sort of double initiator. But X10 try this look on Ascend as well. Ascent, excuse me. Both of those, of course, real information gathering agencies. Is this significant to you guys? Just how much I think that X10 are trying to force this KO look alongside this over?
I don't think it's X10 in general, but it's just teams in general. I think bringing out the KO meta, as I've predicted before, was going to be like a big thing right now for a lot of the teams, because having a KO is not only about the flashes, but it's how much like that 0 point could deny the information. Because when you're looking at the meta of Astra before, and now you still have the meta of Astra in there, but a potential of double initiator, right? A lot of teams are playing Sky as an initiator, second duelist, and then a Sova. So whenever you're going to have somebody that's going to try to drone for information with the Trailblazer or with the Owl drone, well, that KO knife is actually going to nullify all that information that you're able to get. So that is going to be a free ability versus 400 credits or however many credits it is for the Trailblazer as well. And it's a huge and a great trade actually when you go for that. So if you want to deny that visibility, deny that information, and you play those rotations off the information that you're gathering or not gathering with the KO, then I think you're able to counter, not necessarily fully counter, but get a slight upper hand against a double initiator play with the Sky and Sova.
Okay. Yeah, obviously this is how Breeze ended up falling out. Obviously, Ye was able to really get rolling once that operator started to fall into his hands fairly frequently there. And we mentioned the KOs maybe not having as huge an impact as they were looking for. But I want you guys to fucking hold on to your hats, because we need to talk about this Ascend versus Keyd Stars match up. What in the evolution? The event that precipitated an absolute avalanche of feces. Okay, so in fairness, so this is Keyd Stars. having brought Moisera into the team, right? Different role for him. And I think it was pointed out as well by Sideshow. I think he tweeted that, relative to his online performance, this tournament hasn't been kind to Moisera, but, caveated with the fact that playing a very different role here, Sova obviously is quite a specialized role we're starting to see. But Icebox is where we kick off. And Keyd Stars look pretty confident, right? Win the pistol there, have a pretty solid defense round. And then I think they fight back on their first buy in the second half and run away with it. Heat looking really scary on this jet.
Yeah, go ahead, Don. I'll let you kick things off here.
Yeah, Heat for me is a top 5 jet in the world, right? Like this guy, when he's confident and he's feeling it, he is unstoppable. And so it was interesting seeing them pick up MW0, who plays kind of that, not jet, but off duelist flex role, and then like you said, positioning into him a very specialized Sova role. So that was always kind of an unknown coming in, and I know he's probably feeling a little down on his performance. Coming in as a Sova, right, and not really being able to pop off as duelist, but that just comes with the territory, right? You're taking somebody off a duelist, but yeah, Heat, absolute animal. But I think for him, it's really a confidence game, right? Like on these games, like the first game, right, he comes in an Icebox, absolutely dominates, but then they get off to a slow start on Bind, right, and he kind of falls behind, and he's kind of struggling to pull his team up behind him. Still had a fantastic game in his own right, 224 ACS, but it's all confidence for him and this entire team in general, which I think leading into this conversation later on about how the third map had to be replayed, I think that played a big factor into their performance and his performance as an individual.
Yeah. I even give credit to Maurice, actually, as the IGL. I had to take off my hat because I know that this conversation is going to get heated now with this whole cam bug later on that we're going to talk about.
Heated.
But, yeah, exactly. No pun intended. But Maurice actually also switched out from usually being, if I'm not mistaken, a Sage player, now playing Killjoy, ever since they had to bring MW0 into the role as Sova on the map like Icebox. And I was thoroughly impressed with how Maurice was able to come in and support Heat as even like a second entry fragger, right? Because you wanted to keep a player like MW0 alive in the end because he's a Sova, and he's going to be that player that, like I mentioned before, prior to going into the tournament, was going to be that player that you could rely on as that third layer, the clutch player, and he could definitely do it. And we've seen some displays of that from MW0 going through the tournament. So I think that mix worked out pretty well for Vivo Keyd, which also you saw that aggression being played and that we know Brazil for panned out quite well for this team overall when they played this first map on Icebox.
For those listening via audio, Vans' hair looks fucking awful right now after taking his hat off. So that's why he makes mention of it.
I just came out from the shower.
State that his head looked fucked
Listen,
up.
I just came out from the shower. So we were having that conversation too. I don't know if it's TMI, but I just came out of the shower, and also I was giving my dog a bath at the same time too. And then Mitch thought it was weird that I take a bath with my dog. Is it weird, Chad?
I thought it was weird that it wasn't a euphemism personally, but that's really your business.
Yeah,
that is your business. Let's fucking talk about this sordid affair on Breeze. So the first time Breeze gets played, I'm watching this and I'm like, Vivo Keyd is the better team.
Yeah.
They are actually today the better team. They are better than one of the top seeds from Europe, Acend. They're a better team. But we run it back. Now, this is the first run through, right? So this is obviously how it went down. We get to a third map. Obviously, Bind was really one-sided, right? Vivo Keyd able to shrug that off, and that takes a bit in and of itself. And this is the first time through. This is Vivo Keyd actually winning. But this result, Vans, is not upheld because basically there's a ruling here that Joe, is that how you pronounce his name?
Yeah, Joe, yeah.
So he violates the rules with a Cypher camera placement that allows him to see through a texture. Now, this specific Cypher cam spot is not listed in the rules, but the rules are quite clear in that if an exploit allows you to see through a fucking texture, Correct. It is not allowed. You are not allowed to use that.
Yeah.
So let me just start here. Is it reasonable to plead ignorance in this state if you're Joe?
No.
Or Vivo Keyd?
No,
So
In
this
my opinion,
is-
absolutely not. I mean, it not just in the VCT, qualifying tournaments held by Nurse Street Gamers, but also in LCQ hosted by Riot Games. They provided to us, both the players and the staff, a list of exploits, and not just a list of like exploits that they knew about, which this one was on it, but also a description of like what an exploit is. including like seeing through a texture that can only be seen one way and can't be shot through, which is what this exploit is, right? And not only that, right? Like take that aside and say like you had no idea that that was even there. You got the piece of paper, but it got lost in the mail. You didn't read it, whatever. A couple months ago, 2 different teams got match penalties for using this exact same exploit. Both X10, who's in this event, and Vodafone Giants had a match disqualified for using this exact same Cypher camera. So there's really no excuse, right? Like if the player didn't know about it, the onus is on the coaching staff to let this player know that you cannot do this.
And also, just to clarify too, because we see the texture how the camera could see through, right? But when you're actually going to be on the attacker side and you're coming through from the A main side, you can't see it. It's just a wooden brown panel on the top. So you could get pinged out, you could get spotted, but you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, those guys have no idea the Cypher cam's there. They can't see it. They can't shoot at it. They don't even know that they're being spotted.
Yeah.
So do you think that it is players saying, devs, just fix your fucking game? Is that a reasonable defense in this situation?
I think it's a valid complaint, right? Like you could say, hey, why has this not been patched? I think we can gripe about that all we want, but like they still laid it out that it can't be used, and teams have been disqualified for it in the past. So like you should know better. So
so to be clear, Don, did Giants and X10 lose the matches in which they did any of the use of this camera?
Yeah, they forfeited
or were they? Right, so they forfeited.
I don't know
if
they lost the entire series. I don't recall, but they did forfeit the map, so the entire map that they used.
The entire fucking map,
correct?
The whole map.
So the precedent was set.
Yeah.
The fact that they went back and allowed this to be replayed with just the rounds overturned is in the face of the precedent that was established.
That's what I'm getting at here. Vivo Keyd fucking cheated. You cunts cheated. You cheated. Now, initially, the 7 rounds, they lost those rounds. Like the initial punishment was too fucking soft, based on the precedent that has already been set. But because Riot are being a bunch of soft cunts about this, and probably because everyone is losing their mind, because apparently, as long as you get enough people tweeting the same fucking hashtag without even knowing what it's about, don't fucking tell me that everyone who used that hashtag knew what it meant. Get fucked. It was #1 trending. Yeah. You are going to flagrantly ignore the precedent you've already set with your league operations department and your rules, and you are going to overturn it and allow the match to be... Now, in fairness, Riot did obviously give a large handicap to Acend, and they did win the series as a result. You're telling me that you have just fucking bent over backwards for this region, and they're complaining on Twitter in order to allow this to be replayed. So, look, this is fair. We've determined they should have forfeited 3 rounds, not 6 or whatever. Okay, teams did this once, and you fucking had the game. You had the game disqualified once, and now you're going to allow the. I understand that this is maybe a different tier of event, but that should mean that the punishment should be more severe, not less, because there's so much more on the line. Well, and there's so many other teams that have so much to lose.
Yeah. So first off, like the ones that actually used the cameras was still S tier, right? It was during the VCT qualifiers, so it is still the bug was used under the penalty and the format of what Riot had. Where I want to give the defense for Vivo Keyd is, where is this consistency on putting this rule set down on Riot's end, right? Because I think. And now I'm speculating here, so we're going to go down to rumor mill. But where I find that there's a lack of consistency over what happened with this ruling was due to that previous match where it was the Sentinels games versus Furia, right? So Sentinels game against Furia was another NA or just a team versus Brazil, and then there was a pause that happened for the longest time. And the pause happened because the admin decided to pause the match for quote-unquote illegal boost of the jet going on the boxes of C site, right? C long. And then because of that, they had to go through the rule book and discuss and figure out what was going on. And then eventually it was a super long break, and then they still didn't do anything with it. So it's like, fuck it, we'll just continue with the game itself. That Sentinels eventually ended up winning. Now it comes down to this matchup where Zhou is using his camera for at least 6 rounds in this half when they're playing defender side of A, but it hasn't been paused once. So
yeah, but that's because they didn't fucking know what the admins had no idea. They didn't flag it at the time, surely. You're trying to tell me
how are they able to flag
How
are they able to flag that box on C side but not flag the camera being seen on the map?
Okay, so are you suggesting that Riot knew that Vivo Keyd were using an exploit and didn't stop the match.
Well, look, if you're at least for me, benefit of the doubt as well for Vivo Keyd is that if you're going to be part of admitting and ruling the matchup, and your responsibility is to look at this match to make sure that there's competitive integrity, then you should have your eyes on the screen to know that, yeah, oh shit, there's probably a bug here.
Sure.
Because they have a POV of all 10 players. If you look at that ruling, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think they fucking missed it, Vance. I'm going to use Hanlon's razor here and assume that they just fucked up. Their league ops team just didn't see it or didn't realize that it was an exploit. Because here's the problem. If they're watching from Joe's perspective, it doesn't look like that texture is see-through. It just looks like it's a gap in the meta work, right? They just looking at his perspective doesn't tell them that from the other side, it can't be seen through. And if you're not specifically familiar with this bug, this glitch, then you probably will miss it. I don't think, this is my own opinion, right? And this is speculation. I don't think that Riot saw an exploit occurring and chose to let the game go on. I think they missed the exploit in general. So it's not a problem with the consistency of their ruling, because I think they just didn't. I think it was just plain ignorance.
Yeah,
I'd like to think that if they knew that there was an exploit, underway, they would have stopped the game.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I don't think there's any chance that the admin actually saw this occurring and even thought, like, should I be pausing this match or not? Like, it's such a small strip, and if they're not entirely familiar with Cypher and the gameplay and the map in general and these exploits, then they wouldn't have caught it, right? Like, I don't know if these guys are even trained to catch these things and instructed to do so. This was the first time I've ever seen this happen in the entire year and a half that we've been having these tournaments.
But then again, on consistency about ruling. So within the VCTs, when this bug was used for X10 and also used against Giants, right? What happened to the team that used the exploit was that they forfeited the map, but in the next series that they're playing, if I'm not mistaken. So why is there a lack of consistency on what happened here? So let's say Vivo Keyd did win that series. They should move forward,
because that would force them to eliminate them from the whole fucking event.
If they losing 2 matches in a row in a GSL means you're out.
Yes.
So if you're going to forfeit the next series, they are ejecting them from the entire...
You forfeited 1 map. So you get into the next series, and you're already down 0-1 against whoever the fuck you're playing, right? And
I'm not entirely sure, but in those last situations, I believe it was a part of a qualifier that led into a tournament directly after. So that map that they lost still affected the tournament they were in. Whereas if you allowed this team to keep playing in Champions, for example, and said, we'll take 1 map from your next tournament, the next tournament's not going to be till next year, right? In a totally unrelated qualifier.
I thought it was going to be on the next series, but nonetheless, there's still a lack of consistency there.
Yes, I agree. And like the complaint that people make about
what
Riot
the fuck?
not
I just
having
said something
patched
that Uber just agreed to. Sorry, I just had to put that in.
I mean, yeah. So I think this is just more. Intentionally using any in-game bug to seek an advantage is prohibited. Now, listen, I agree. Look, the argument that they should have fixed this is true. That actually doesn't mean that it excuses it. It's still cheating. It's still cheating. So usage of the camera will not change the result of the match. I mean, what tournament supervisor was that? Was that a VCT? Yeah. I mean, there's just too many incompetent league ops people that are involved in this. But that's an interesting screenshot. And here's what happened though. Like, very quickly, we need to start to progress somewhat. Is that at this same time, Sentinels players are getting a ton of abuse in their DMs and such. I mean, allegedly. I haven't seen the DMs, so I'm going to say allegedly. Because someone takes a screen grab of the mini-map showing a Cypher camera in what appears to be a similar location. But Dapper goes on record and says, I'm not using the same camera. The camera I'm using is lower, or it's like on the box sort of below. It's not the same camera. And Dapper's like, I'm aware. I mean, the way he worded it was obviously a little bit more inflammatory, which is kind of part and parcel with being a Sentinels player, I guess. But people were, going at the Sentinels here. And I think this, in my opinion, this is what really started all this shit. Because I just say, here's the tweet, right? Yeah. I'm going to be honest. The Brazilian fan base is really good at victimizing themselves. They have a complex where they think everybody in the world is against them.
I fail to see how that tweet is attacking, right? Like, it's calling someone weird,
Yeah.
Darwin, I mean, are you kidding me? They call us gringo and it's derogatory, and they try and tell us it's not derogatory. We fucking know. So like, it's just our humor. No, it's not. It's derogatory, mate. Like, I don't come here like, I don't come and, use slurs and then play it off as, I'm just Australian. We use slurs all the time. It doesn't mean that to us. Fuck off. Like, you can't participate in the global community while using slurs and passing it off as a joke, guys. Sorry, it's not.
That's why for me it's like everything is lost in translation right now, right? Because maybe it is actually just normal that they use that term in Brazil, and that's just how you fucking, I don't know, just name a certain type of person. I don't fucking know, right?
It's about impact, not intent, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
No, I get it. Which is why it's the same thing as to what Zombs said in terms of like shit region. For him, it was just about the fucking teams. Like NA versus EU. EU calls NA shit all the fucking time, right?
Yeah.
And we will call EU shit, but I can't say shit because all 4 top R4 EU teams are fucking top seed right now. So I have to eat my words.
You need to shut the fuck up.
Right? Exactly.
But,
so I eat that, right?
I'm going to talk about the Zom situation when we get to it, right?
Okay.
Because that's in the show, because it's obviously part of this, right? But, you know, to move on, the game gets replayed because Riot are fucking soft as piss. And they give Acend 7 rounds.
Yes.
Sorry. Look, I'm sure that someone in Riot League Ops, if they see this, is going to be personally offended by this. You should be, because I think you fucked up. I think you did the wrong thing. That's just my opinion, right? Not that educated, just 10 years experience in esports, working in all facets of the production and casting. But, you know, I think you fucked up. And you if you want to be mad at me, then you're just projecting. This is a mistake. I understand that the level of event, you know, is a big deal. It's champions. I get it. I think this is the wrong call. So anyway, it gets replayed, and guys, Acend barely fucking hold on. I mean, it's squeaky bum time. That's 7 rounds up, and it gets a little too close for comfort there. I think Keyd Stars win the pistol on the attacking side, and then just win the next 5 rounds.
Yeah, and for me to be the nice guy as well, Uber. I definitely do think
Look at this, by the way.
Sorry,
look at this.
Yeah,
this is fucking look at this. Like, so Acend, first of all, you're taunting your opponents when you got a fucking leg up. And the guys on Vivo Keyd, this is the saltiest sort of fake sincerity I think I've ever seen. Fair enough, but I mean, they'd be fucking livid at this point.
Of course. They're allowed to be angry after still losing, almost catching up, to be like, how dare you taunt us when you're already in the lead 7-0 and we almost fucking beat you. I think you're allowed to do that, right?
It came down to that 1v1. I think it was MW0 versus
MW0.
Zeke or Bone Cold at 9-10.
Yep.
It just barely didn't get the clutch, man. Like that could have totally changed the outcome of this game. So it was very close.
In the end, for me, like this whole ruling thing about the 7 points going back and forth on their decision, I definitely do think that there was a slight mistake on, you know, overturning the decision that they made previously. But I feel like originally when they tried to do the explanation as to why you wanted to give that victory to Acend, that was like digging a hole to like try to justify 1 round, 2 round, 3 rounds, and in the end, because of that, we're gonna give them an extra point for 13.
I mean,
like
that was changing the result of a game is insane.
Yeah.
Why even go that in depth and talk about it round per round? Why not just say, hey, we're giving the map to?
That's exactly what I'm about to say, right? Because now like you had clips of like 5 or 6 clips of the videos of the camera looking back and forth.
Yeah.
1 round, it
this
doesn't
is what
see
forced
anybody.
them to walk it back.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if you don't see anybody, it's still info, right?
Of course.
If they had just given the map instead of saying, okay, we're going to do this fucking convoluted maths, there'd be no need to walk it back. But now, because they determined that they actually only use the camera in 3 rounds and 6, they have to, by their own precedent they've set, walk it back and have an unfinished match.
Yeah.
What an unmitigated fucking debacle.
That's the biggest like long-term issue I see with this, right? Like we talk about precedent, and in this initial ruling, they went with their established precedent and said, we're going to disqualify this team for the map. But then they went and said,
never mind.
You know, due to all of this pressure that we're getting from these outside sources and people that don't even play this game, or they just watch it, or they're just viewers or whatever, we're going to overturn this. So now you're setting a new precedent that says, if you apply enough pressure, if you tweet and whine and bitch enough on fucking Twitter, we're gonna change our ruling. And that is scary. That's a scary precedent to set.
That's why I think, again, why it sucks, and it's nice that it happens now, is because this is still their first ever champions, the first year and a half where they're running the VCTs, and like the first time where they encounter such a huge issue to be like, holy fuck, okay, we did not expect how shit could hit the fan when these things happen, right? Because I remember back in my day about the fucking train bug. Like the flash under the boxes on train, the flash under the boxes of nuke, where if you accidentally throw a flash under that box, everybody in the server gets flashed, and that's an exploit, and you lose the map. So that was all through experience and having to deal with it for the first time. Then you're able to potentially set a better precedence for the next time. So this is a great learning experience where I think it's definitely going to be different for 2022. Just sucks that it had to happen for a Brazilian team. It just had to suck that it had to happen in general. But there was definitely a lack of information, misinformation, ignorance at the same time, because we all know that bug exists. We all know that it's been on the news already under the Valorant community when this bug was used in the past by X10 and also against Vodafone Giants. So we don't know who to blame at this point, right? So to try to make it fair, and knowing Riot, how they always like to be fair and lenient, then you want to give the benefit of the doubt for countering the dispute, right, from Vivo Keyd. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It turned into what it was. We still got the final result, but at the end of the day, it still became a shit show.
We got a result, yeah, no doubt about it. It's a shame that it had to be the way it is. And yeah, like I come on pretty strong today. I'll be honest with you, because it's frustrating, and honestly, like, people can't be allowed to do this. But I understand that this is the first champions, and I have faith that, you know, Riot can turn around and their League Ops team can tighten these particular screws. It is okay, right? No one's fucking calling for anyone to be fired. Right? Yeah. It's just that it is marring the competitive integrity of your own event, and it matters to me, because I fucking care about that being upheld. I care about the enshrinement of fantastic Valorant moments and events, because you know, it's important to me to see these things. So, you know, that is an unfortunate black mark, and not the only one on this event. But hey, big events means big drama, I guess. Let's talk about the rest of these games, because we'll get there. We got Group A still to work through here. So, okay, this one for me, I tuned in halfway through and I was a little disappointed. So Envy, obviously, they get that win against X10, right? We feel like, all right, they come off pretty strong. I think X10 looked maybe a little bit weaker than the level they showed later on in this game, but Envy get through. Then we have Acend versus Envy, which is something that's supposed to be a banger. Map one's not really a banger, right? It's like an 8-4 half, so it's like, you know, fair enough. But Envy can't really cobble too much together in the second half here. I mean, pretty quiet. I'll be honest with you. I want to get your thoughts here, because it's not that damning a score line, but Envy felt flaccid.
Zeke looks so good actually on KO on this map, actually, for the first few rounds. Like, he was everywhere around mid and B side.
Yes, and KO Sova look here like X10 did against Envy.
That's it. So that's what we're talking about, like that double initiator trying to deny that information when you're trying to like get an owl drone into B main. If you're trying to get an owl drone from mid, that all gets canceled out. And if you're able to cancel that out with a 0 point, then you don't really have much to like really support. Let's say a Yay lurk towards mid side to try to break an alarm bot or whatnot, because you don't have that information to do that anymore. Because Victor is probably going to be on another side of the map with the Trailblazer, or trying to work with somebody else to try to get things going. I feel that Envy on defender side tried to play both of them together, both initiators together a lot, like with the Crashies and Victor.
Why?
It's just the way that they play, I think, to gather information in the way that they swing. Again, using the Sky being able to flash for herself to be able to get some kills, or to flash for Crashes to get some kills after the information that they get. I still think that works pretty well. Whereas before it was probably Crashies as a Sova, and then you had, I think, Victor as a Raze, and it would still work together, right, to get that map information on Acend. So I think it still works pretty well. But Zeke definitely, not only on just KO kit, just was fragging out the first few rounds.
Yeah, I mean that the KO could be frustrating, especially on a trying to bust out of sight and you're getting nulled and suppressed by the knife, right? But like you pointed out, they do like to play Victor and Crashes together, I think, for more explosiveness rather than playing the slower information game, which I think you have to play against a KO, right? Like, KO really shuts down your ability to hit a site quickly and forces you to kind of bait out his utility a bit more and time your hits in between his knife. But I also think that just Victor struggled this entire series. He couldn't seem to get it going. He never really came alive. I don't know if that's necessarily indicative of a flaw in strategy, rather than just him individually not really being able to get the fire started, so to speak.
My NA copium is because he couldn't close his fucking window. I don't know if you read that, but like, apparently he couldn't close the window of his hotel room. Therefore, it was like 0 degrees Celsius outside, and his hands were cold. Yeah, his hands were cold. He couldn't fucking move. He couldn't play.
I mean,
oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously he was in a separate room to the rest of his team.
Correct.
Because he had he passed like a positive PCR test.
Correct.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So then he had to play from his hotel room.
Could have had some symptoms as well then, man. Not feeling under the weather necessarily, or just mentally not all there.
Right, because he didn't make it clear. He said he didn't say he was feeling symptomatic. He just said that because it turns out, I think has he not since then done a proper so the rapid test is what we returned a positive on, but the PCR one is the one they sent off to a lab. and I think he cleared that one. I'm not sure. I mean, we'll see today.
I thought he failed the lab test.
I think he failed the PCRs as well. Yeah.
Okay, so he's yeah. Who knows? So if symptomatic or not, yeah, obviously a little bit tough to play through that. But that's it's pretty crazy out there in Europe right now. They're still dealing with it. Now these guys are playing not from Berlin, I think, but from Potsdam, which is an area like outside of Berlin, like 20 minutes
still
or
pretty
so.
close.
Yeah, but I also. Yeah, it's close enough. It feels like a different place, though. I'll tell you right now. It's like saying the LEC is in Berlin when really it's in Spandau, which is again a little bit out of the way, right? So, I know that the finals will be in the Verti Arena, right? So that will be in Berlin proper, but that's a whole nother fucking issue because obviously, people are very strict out there right now with the COVID situation.
Correct. It's an hour away, if I'm not mistaken, too.
Yes. Again, Berlin sprawls, and it's not like an American city where you've got like highways that make a lot of sense. It's pretty all over the place. It's more efficient.
You can also drive 300 kilometers an hour, right? So it's all good.
On the autobahn, like maybe like for between the Frankfurt and Berlin and whatever, but yeah, not in the fucking.
I can't do it like it's like Gemini Man or Italian Job.
Having lived in Cologne for like 4 years, people used to just fang their Lambos like through the street to that place.
Oh
no
my
fucks
God.
given. So yeah,
So
and I feel like no one really cared. Everyone's like, oh yeah, that's good. All right.
How fast did you drive your Lambo? That's the
Dude, I mean, that
There it
ESL
is.
wage got me a fucking beast of a Lambo, bro. You know what? Yeah. Old mate Joe Miller just greasing the palms over here. Fuck me. All right, so
there it is.
I mean, hold on.
My arms are freezing. I don't even know how I'm supposed to hold my mouse.
Okay.
I mean, that's tough. It's tough to play with cold hands. I mean, you can't really take that away. Like if that actually was the case and there's cold air blowing in on his hands, you can't get his hands warm. It's tough to play with. I mean, if you look at just the stat lines, right? Like take aside the actual gameplay, you see what you pretty much see anytime that Envy play, right? Which is Ye is at the top doing well. Crashy's up there holding it down with them, but then you have Victor down there at the bottom, and you just never see that. That's not really something that Victor does. He's a pretty consistent player. He's usually out there holding it down with Ye and Crashies. And when you have a player that's that important, he's pivotal in hitting the sites as well as gaining the information with that initiator utility. You have that person down in the dumps. It's really hard to win.
So obviously tough one for Envy. We're waiting to see if they sort of bounce back here. Obviously they have a chance to qualify still to be the second NA team there. Let's talk about X10C versus Keyd Stars. And now, guys, there's not a whole lot here. We'll just preface by saying this. Keyd Stars obviously came off the having to replay the game against Acend with 7 rounds down. You see they looked extremely sarcastic in their congratulations to their opponents after that game. And they seem like their heart's not in it anymore at this point.
Yeah, they got the wind knocked out of their sails for sure when they started playing against X10. It was not a Vivo Keyd that we know them for. So I really don't know what happened in this matchup on VK's side because they were looking so good against Acend, and it just fell really flat, unfortunately. I think Heat was still putting up some good work, but I think you give more credit to X10 than to how like taking advantage of the situation too, because when you look at this lineup, Sushi Boys is actually playing the Jet for the team, whereas usually on this map of Icebox, the last time I remember watching X10 play, it was actually Pattypan that was opting for the team, and it took him a couple of rounds before he was able to get a couple of rounds in against Fnatic in Reykjavik. So now to see Pattypan play Reyna and Sushi Boys doing these fucking highlight reels and kills, and he could be as aggressive, like popping things left and right. I was like, holy shit, who the fuck is this X10 team? And I was thoroughly impressed with how they surprised VK. I think they were more aggressive than Vivo Keyd were.
Yeah, by far. I mean, what Sushi Boys is playing Sentinel, yeah, still just like running around the map, just gatting people down.
Yeah.
Yeah, X10 just came out hot, right? And VK very much so did not. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier. These guys are very much a confidence and momentum-based team. They absolutely lost that momentum when they had to replay that map versus Acend and lose the series. Getting knocked down into this lower bracket, it was obviously a mental boon for them. They couldn't pull it back together, whereas X10 came in with full confidence, just started running it down on them. These guys were just absolute animals. They were taking the fights with confidence, and they were winning the fights, and that's really just what it came down to.
Sad. It was heartbreaking too. Like after watching like because I was watching the interview, post game interview of Heat with Sideshow, and man, they looked sad, disappointed. Like Heat was like, fuck, man. Like I don't know what I could have done. We boot camped. We boot camped for a month. We worked really hard. We felt very confident, and especially that game. I think they'll have to put it at that, right? The having a replay against Acend.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, at the end of the day, at least they got a second chance to be able to try to get that map back in their favor. You know,
That's true.
Instead of like losing the map overall by getting
Yeah,
it,
sure.
like,
I think like we're of the opinion that that is more than fair. In fact, maybe unfair to the other team. So they got very fortunate to be offered that level of leniency.
Correct,
this kind of
correct.
event. I think there's also the fact that they had to try and integrate Muzera on relatively short notice, right? I still think like I'm sure they're not going to blame that, but
no,
you know.
I think MW0 actually. Sorry, buddy. I feel that MW0 actually fit into that roster quite well. Actually, I think it looks really, really good. I think they're potentially going to be that top team in Brazil right now. What the fuck?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, like I said before, MW0 is a stud in the region. You know, he had a bad map on Haven versus X10, but other than that, he looked pretty good this tournament. You know, for switching to a role, he's coming from playing duelist and being first or second into being expected to be the last guy in, last guy alive, and pull off clutches. So it's a completely different role that he seemed to adapt to pretty phenomenally at the top level of Valorant in the globe.
I love that. I love that how you guys, able to illustrate just the pure difference in role switch there. I guess it's something that maybe like the more casual folk is not apparent. So let's talk. Let's talk NVX10, gentlemen. I need your predictions here. That game is going to happen about an hour and 20 minutes from now. It's slated to anyway. So
and we were only done Group A. Holy fuck! Let's hurry up.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, give me your yeah, exactly. Yeah, they won't play the game until we're done talking. Don't worry.
Yeah. Valoranting, start game. Envy. I have to give it to Envy.
Okay.
Yeah, you gotta support the North American boys.
Yeah, I mean, Envy had a tough matchup against Acend, didn't seem to pull it out. Victor looked off, but I have a feeling just based on Victor's personality and FNS as a leader, I think these guys are going to come back from this. They're going to take it to the chin and say, okay, look, we got to buckle down and get out of groups. We're not going to let what happened to Sentinels happen to us. You know, we're getting out of here. We're going to show that we deserve to be at the top. So
yeah, give us at least
I think
two.
Victor turns it around. Yeah.
Give us at least two.
Yeah, I think like people have maybe been blindsided by seeing Sentinels get eliminated. That like they're very doom and gloom about NA as a region, but 2 or 3 of their seeds are still in a position, right, to qualify. And I think that's still at least something to cling on to.
Even C9, yeah, even C9 and Envy have a better look than Sentinels for sure. So I think now after looking at this first week, 6 days has passed. Sentinels are definitely the weaker team out of the 3 NA teams that represented us, which sucks because I had Sentinels win the whole fucking thing, but. It is what it is.
I mean, all right. Well, I guess, yes, truth is stranger than fiction sometimes. Okay, we're going to move on. Psycho, thanks for joining us, man. You want any co-streams right now? Can people find you as the games are going on, or what? You just chilling in a blanket fort watching the games?
Oh, I'm just watching the games for now. Just moved to a new apartment, so just kind of enjoying my time.
Nice. Congrats, man.
Yeah, hitting it hard on the practice with X10, so we'll be ready for next year, 2022. So
hell yeah.
This time around, when you're hitting me up to do champion stuff, I'll probably hopefully be in Berlin.
Hell yeah, that's what I want to hear. Hopefully I'll be in Berlin
I'll call
with
you at
bro.
4 a.m. because I'll have no awareness of time zone differences. But like, I'm done. We got a little show. You were there before, right? Come on back. Yeah, I'll let you know, man. Thanks for joining us, though, bro.
All right, guys.
Have a
Thanks
great
so much
day
for
and enjoy
having
the
me.
games.
Appreciate it, Don.
Oh man.
Dude.
All right.
That was I mean, after looking at Group A, it's gonna be pretty fucking insane. But I'll let you take on our next guest here.
What's good, Tanny? Thanks for joining us on the show again, buddy. How you doing? What's up, Tanny? Thanks for joining us, bro. How you going?
I'll make it work.
Well.
I'll make it work.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Like, you weren't here last week, so we had to take over. It's nice to have you back.
Oh yeah, I mean, you guys would have had some room to actually fucking talk. That sounds like might have had some substance to the show instead of the fucking.
I did okay.
hot air.
I think I did okay at taking your place here, Uber.
Oh, don't ask me, man. You know, I give you the tough love and tell you your shit. So.
Had some questionable takes, just like you.
Yeah.
Well.
All right, let's see if we've got any more of those up our sleeves then, shall we? Let's talk about Group B. Because this obviously, this is just a fucking spicy group, isn't it? All right, Sentinels, Furia, Crew, Esports, Team Liquid in this group. Before we talk about the matches, I mean, this is an obvious question, but I have to ask you guys anyway, especially for our listeners at home, just how far from what you expected is the reality of this group now?
I expected a Sentinels and Liquid in the upper finals for sure.
Yeah.
But I did not see Crew how strong they looked versus Sentinels. So we'll talk about that a bit.
Nah, I don't think anyone predicted that one. Like,
Yeah.
pretty. I thought that Liquid might, come top of this group. I didn't think that was like too surprising, but no way did I think like Sentinels would go out like this.
It was another level from Crew, right? Because let's start with the first game in this group, right? Crew versus Team Liquid. It only goes to 2 maps here, and Crew pick Haven and get spanked on Haven.
Yeah. It was the Nevera and Soulcast show, I think, at this point too. Like when we wanted to have some Scream on Jet, it actually took a while for, I think, both Scream and Yampy to actually get some rounds going in. I think that's against Sentinels, excuse me. But in the end, when you're looking at the KO for Soulcast, it was nice actually to see that KO gets implemented more and more from a lot of these teams now, also in Europe, and especially on Haven. Not many players would utilize this agent on this map.
I'm loving the KO actually. Like Liquid were one of the first people to actually play it in EU. Not only in officials, but actually in scrims as well. And it's actually sick to see them play it at Champions, because they were a bit shaky on it at the start. People were wondering, like, oh, because Soulcast is such a good Sky, do we actually want to switch him off that? But yeah, the KO is working out pretty damn well on some of the maps. So that's good.
It's looking really explosive, Soulcast is.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck, throw it back a year, right? The guy's come so far, but it really looks like now he's like taking a lot of this stuff into his own hands, looking really dynamic. Ooh, Poppy kind of play with the KO.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think this is a great addition to how it changes the play style of Liquid. I don't remember during the LCQs if we actually did see Soulcast play as that KO. Tanny, I don't know if you could freshen that up for me, but I don't think that we were.
I don't think so. I think Scream played it once, but I think that was
that didn't work at all.
No, that didn't work.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't think Soulcast played it before that.
Yeah, so then a new fresh look as well from TL, which shows a little bit the amount of work that Bacon and Sliggy have been putting in going into this event for Team Liquid. I think Team Liquid overall were one of the favorites to come into the event anyways, to potentially win it. So to see them perform quite well versus Crew came to no surprise, at least for me, in first-hand expectations until we get to see Crew later on.
Obviously this performance here doesn't really approximate what we saw from them later on. So I think this is, maybe why people were just so shocked because it wasn't just that Sentinels played bad. It was that Crew played fucking incredibly. We'll delve into that a little bit more though, because first up we had Sentinels versus Furia. This is obviously the, the match in which we had this rather notorious scenario with the tech pause and the toilet break but that doesn't happen until Breeze, if I'm not mistaken. So it kicks off on Acend here.
Yeah, exactly. And then Acend, when you're playing against Furia, is, even for me going into this tournament, I unfortunately, if I had to rank like the Brazilian teams going into the tournament, I had to rank who was the best and who was the worst out of the 3. I was actually putting Furia as that third one. Like I think even if they made it further in the LCQ, and Vikings, we haven't seen them play since Iceland, I still gave a lot of commendment to Sadak and to Sassi for Vikings, that they'll still pull through and they have enough time to like change the meta, right? So then Furia, for me, they were a little bit flat. The only one that was actually like one of the players to look out for me was Zand, and I think Zand played a pretty decent game. When you looked at how they played against Sentinels on Ascent, it was like, okay, shit, they look actually really good. Zand's moving across, flying in the air, getting boosted by a Sage Wall, gets a kill, dashes back. I was like, okay, this looks fucking sick. But then as soon as they got to the defender side, Zand actually unfortunately fell off a little bit. It wasn't as heated up as he was on the attacker side, and Sentinels were able to take advantage of that a little bit more.
Something that really impressed me on, I think it was Breeze, was just how QCKL quick, right, was locking it down on this Viper. He's like 6-2, first kill, first death as a Viper here, right? Sometimes in like a not solo held site, but having to like face down people, trying to entry. I feel like they really took the wind out of Sentinel sails a bit on that, on their attacking side. Right? Sentinel still got 6 rounds on attack here, but again, they run out of gas here, and I was really impressed. I think from having to play like contact Viper in so many of these rounds, quick looked fucking nasty.
Yeah,
they just lost every initial duel. Like,
Correct.
Yeah.
they have so few first kills on this map. It's actually crazy. Did not expect that from Sentinels. And then you have like Shazam not popping off as well, who is one of the 3 who really needs to pop off on Sentinels, I feel. So it was just a bit of a weird match that they lost on Breeze.
Yeah, it was like 8 first kills to like 15, if my maths is correct.
Like,
Yeah.
And most of them, and most of them were from QCK as well, as you were mentioning here, Mitch. So that his defense playing that Viper was actually quite strong. Couldn't get through
most
that.
of them were traded like immediately,
That
which
too.
did not come out of
so
Sentinels
fucking
at all.
insane, dude.
Usually we commend Sentinels to be able to trade.
Yeah, right.
And that's where like
He's just ratty. Like, he was so hard to dig out of his positions on defense, man. It's kind of wild.
Man, I feel so bad having to talk about Sentinels this whole fucking group, man. Fuck.
Well, guess
At
what,
least they
mate?
won this game, unlike the next 2.
Hoist thy saddlebags, because we've got some more delving to do, mate. We're gonna spelunk into your fucking existential crisis 1 furlong at a time, motherfucker. Here's map number 3, which is Haven. This felt like the 10 show. I feel like he gets a lot done here, especially on his entries, right? He's kind of popping off. Everyone on Sentinels is looking pretty good though in general, yeah. But I think that 10s is really able to open up a ton of action.
Yeah,
I actually think Sick is the person who pops off the most on this map. He plays Haven so well with the Sky right
fucking
now.
A retake, the 1v3.
Yeah,
where, he literally dodges a fucking operator shot and just pulls out the fucking classic and gets the 3rd kill. That was fucked up.
He is such a good Sky, actually. Like, everyone thought he was just like, oh, this Phoenix 1 trick, but on this map. But no, his Sky is probably like one of the best in NA, I want to say. It's actually so good to see because he's been grinding it so hard.
Man.
That's such a tough part. That's such the heartbreaking aspect about
Is he the
Sentinels
Zipnix of Valorant, this guy?
Sorry?
Is he like the Zipnix of Valorant? Just this unreal fucking brain, clutch god kind of play?
Yeah, I think he's one of those. I think Dapper is one of those as well, which is what I was going to allude to. Is like Dapper is another one of those that this tournament, it definitely looked like Dapper didn't want to lose, right? He didn't want to go out, and we'll talk about that with against Crew later. But you have a roster that still on paper looks very, very good, and individually they're able to pop off in these moments where they could actually just turn the game around or turn around over, like as Tens was able to do, as we talk about how Haven's his playground and he's just able to do whatever the fuck he wants on that map. Six so good on Haven as well, and I think that's where it is. That's the lack of where Sentinels is currently is. Despite them having such good firepower and good trading abilities, I feel that the map pool, you and I talked about this, Mitch, at the beginning of 2021, we're like, oh, fuck, if we see Ascent and Icebox in a map rotation, we'd be kind of scared. Yeah. And now we're looking at this event here, and I said to myself, I was like, oh, fuck, third map is going to be split. And I'm like, this doesn't look good at all against Crew. And I'm like, that's it. They have like Haven that they're really strong on. They have Breeze that they were starting to develop quite well. And then it's a toss-up for the other maps. And it's not to discredit any other teams, but you just think that Sentinels would be that team that would be very strong on any map, really. But, the history shows differently, especially at this Champions.
So
the
I
map
think that
pool
really
is
came back to
spotty.
bite them as well on
Yep.
Split. But we'll get to that later, I'm sure.
Yeah. Isn't it so weird? Sentinels used to be the kind of team that had such a good map pool that they could like first pick the new map, right? They forced people to play. They forced people to play like Icebox for a little bit. They forced people to play like Breeze. They were like, our whole map pool's so sick. So you have like one less ban because you have to ban the map. You're gonna now that fuck me. Talk about a turnaround here. Obviously, Raucous in the coaching booth for this particular team here as well. I think we've talked a ton about it, but right here you can see, guys, listen, I'm telling you, orange mocha, frappuccino, way better than this pumpkin spice bullshit. All right, I see what's in your cups right now. And I just want to let you know that the reason why we're struggling in this series is because your choice of hot beverage is fucking deplorable. Listen to me. I'm a gourmet. All right. I'm from New York City. I walk around. I skate around on an electric skateboard. You should be listening to me. All right. And not your peers, not Reddit, not Twitter. All right. Orange mocha, frappuccino, you fucks. Now get back to work.
I wonder if that's true. Is he from New York? Does he go around on an electric skateboard?
Oh, no. Those two are true. So Raucous is from inner city. He's from inner city, New York. Yeah, he's from NYC. He's a foodie. He's a real foodie. And for a few years at the Overwatch League, he would go to the arena alone with his Starbucks in his hand, with his hipster glasses on, hair in the breeze on his electric skateboard with a handheld controller. I'm not even fucking. You know how they work. Yeah. I love the guy. I have too much. I know too much about him. I just use it as ammo. But
I think this is in the end. I think this is also the downfall of Sentinels as well, because you were mentioning it, Mitch. Like, Sentinels were the ones that, like, you play the new map and it's like, oh shit, they look really good, because Icebox, when it came out, they looked really good on that, and then suddenly teams are catching up to that. Same thing for Breeze. Breeze, they beat Rise like 13-2, and then suddenly Rise starts using their comp on Breeze, and then they're starting to pop off on Breeze for that team. So I feel that they're always at the forefront, that everybody wants to beat them so badly that they're just going to study tape, figure out, okay, if Sentinels plays this way, how do we beat that? And then just a natural progression of how you're evolving as a team now becomes like a mainstay or the meta of how the map is currently being played. So it just sucks to always, again, be at that top, where now it's just they can't make it back to the top because of that as well.
Wait, you reckon that's
my hair
the reason?
is actually really ugly? Sorry?
You reckon that's the reason? That people are just anti-stratting them?
I think so.
What,
I think
really?
so.
Because they just
I
look
think
like they...
it's... Go on.
No, I want to hear what you have to say, because honestly...
Oh, okay. I think it's like they have such good fundamentals that they can get the head start on any map they play, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they don't have to rely on like having these extensive like strat books or anything, because yeah, their fundamentals are just so good on every single map. But then when people do catch up with like advanced strats on each map, then they start to struggle.
Yeah,
I think that's the reason. Yeah,
I agree. But at the same time, if your fundamentals are really good for like trading, spacing, scaling up the map, then it almost feels like you're almost defaulting every time, right? If you're looking at it from that point of view.
And if you're
but that's what they do, right? Like Sentinels are known for their amazing defaults.
Exactly. Yeah. So then how do you figure out that default? So you like try to isolate who you need to isolate in that default.
How do you anti-strat a default, Vans? Like, how do you counter-strat a default?
Well, I mean, the way that they're moving towards that map, you're working the extremities on Dapper, for example, on Split. You saw, for example, against I want to talk about it again, but against Crew, where they actually just changed the pace of the match. When they actually decide to say, look, we're actually going to push fast and we're going to push aggressively against them, and they actually caught Sentinels off guard. You look at the interview that Shazam kind of had, it was like, we were caught off actually multiple times playing against Crew when he had the interview with Sideshow, just because, you know, you want to play your own game, you want to play a default, but sometimes there's just one of these things where it comes out of left field, it catches them, and then it, due to lack of communication, they get complacent with it too.
Right, yeah, okay. For the record, those that listening in audio, I have a shit-eating grin, because obviously, you know, Vance's first reasoning is that they're getting anti-stratted. I'm curious, like, you know, anti-stratting, obviously, a default is hard to do, but sure. Milan wants to know in the chat, Vans, what you mean by scaling. Now, I mean, but this is back when I cast with nothing. He used this term a lot. So for everyone at home, Vans, do you want to talk about what scaling means? And
yeah, just simply simple definition about it is how you actually move above the map, right? So if you want to slowly move towards getting occupation of a section of a map, how do you do that, right? How do you scale upon moving to garage control? Is it going to be like just walking for contact to get a pick, or is it going to be like, okay, I'm going to use an owl drone so that I could actually clear that area so my duelist could get behind? So you're scaling to get the momentum, get the area and control of a certain area of a map.
Yeah, so so you're scaling up your presence, or you're scaling into it. I mean, I think scaling in is like, I don't know if it's like the best use of the term.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I've not heard the term before, but I get what it means in terms of like what's actually needed on the map.
It's converting information into map control is essentially what it is. All right, so yeah, let's talk about this drama here, because there was a pause. The admins, the league. Okay, so league operations, I think, incorrectly identified that there was a exploit or a glitch occurring in which a jet on the A side of Breeze can get onto the boxes, right?
Yeah.
Basically, that is not a glitch, and anyone can do it. It was, well, I mean, not anyone, but you know, if you know how to do it, you can do it. And this precipitated a lengthy technical pause. Now, during this time, the admins were trying to find out, you know, decide, you know, what was the issue. They were rolling it back, having a look. Now, my understanding, guys, is that during this time, Sentinels asked to use the bathroom, and they were allowed to use the bathroom, which, if I understand correctly, is not a normal scenario. Normally, you're not allowed to do this.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Correct. So this part was basically what happened in Fury, right? So you get to the third map, there's a tech pause, and the tech pause was because of what we mentioned before. The admin pause to have the discussion to see if somebody actually used an exploit to get a self.
This is not Sentinel's fault that there was a pause, right?
Correct.
No,
So then it was the admin that had to the discussion exactly to figure out what was going to happen with the ruling. What happened? Did we actually use an illegal boost? They used that jumping on the boxes as a term of an illegal boost, but in the end, I think it was fine. But because it took such a long time, then I think Shazam asked if he could go to the bathroom and said, "Sure, go ahead," and that just ignited the whole discussion. I think it was from Vivo Keyd or from Vikings, right? Somebody in the region said like, "Oh well, how come Shazam could actually go to the bathroom with the tech pause when we couldn't do it in our past matches in like Reykjavik or some shit?"
Yeah, and that's fair, right? Like, I don't whoever allowed them to go to the bathroom fucked up.
Yeah.
Because the precedent is that you cannot do this. Now, I mean, you're allowed to ask. You know what I mean? Like, you could just fucking ask. What blows my mind is that the entirety of the Brazilian region are going after Well, okay, there were other reasons why, but in the first place, they were getting mad at him because they were allowed to go to the bathroom. People that are having problems lately, ascribing blame to the appropriate parties because they don't know the full story. So basically, like, Sentinel's getting shit on for this. And it's... Now, this is speculative from me. I believe this, and you know, all the bullshit about the Dapper camera probably pushed Zombs over the edge a little bit. I'm not justifying what he said, his behavior, although I think it falls just within the realm of acceptable trash talk, but it is borderline. But like, think of this, your Sentinels, 2 separate occasions, you're getting these moronic fans from Brazil piling into your fucking DMs for 2 things that were literally not your fault. Even more than that, nothing to do with you. So obviously, so sorry, can we see the, Furia got their momentum ruined by a dumb tech pause that didn't have to happen. Shazam's correct, right? I got a lot of undeserved hate. Can we go back to the previous tweet here? Because I think this is the important one. Shazam is playing something he said off as a joke. He makes a joke here, and it upsets people.
Yeah. It should have been a tech pause. Or I think he was saying like, I think Shazam was saying something along the line of maybe they should have called a tech pause. And I think the thing with a tech pause as well is not necessarily because of the Dapper camera thing. I think there was another matchup, if I'm not mistaken, that was like I can't remember which one. I think it was another Brazilian team, and then he pulled that out to be like, oh shit, they should have called a tech pause.
Right. So like I might be missing something here. But obviously, Shams, I'm getting a lot of hate about the tech pause. They didn't call the pause.
Sentinels did not call the tech pause.
Yeah,
they didn't do
you're
it.
not missing anything.
Right. Okay. Cool. And then so we said we didn't care. They were happy to play on. It wasn't. But then they asked to pee because it was taking too long. Now they shouldn't have been allowed to pee. But if you're a fan, doesn't matter where you're from.
The precedent's been set. Like, you can do that in longer tech pauses. Like in our tech pause versus Acend. For Masters, they had to swap out CNED's entire PC.
Right.
That took like 40 minutes. So we were allowed to come back, eat some food, whatever, and then, literally just grab a drink, grab whatever snacks they had available, and then go back onto stage when it was all ready. Like, I think you should be allowed to go if you need to, if it's a long pause. I don't know how long it was. Was it like excessively long?
I don't know. Maybe because in the studio to one to the bathroom, it's like 15 minutes away. I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know. It is ridiculous. It is ridiculous.
So if you're a fan, doesn't matter what region you're from, and you're messaging Sentinels players, abusing them, death threats or whatever, over either the camera situation, which had nothing to do with them, or the tech pause, which they didn't call, you are a fucking dumb cunt. You are.
And that's just
you should
anybody.
probably be expunged from the digital world. Like, you should just have your So here's what it is. So right. So I'm getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. Can we go? I know this is important. Can we go back to what Zombs initially tweets? Because this is a whole nother part to this. Fuck, we're gonna be here all day. We're gonna be here all fucking day.
Just to add on to this, like what you said earlier about this pushing Zombs over the edge to actually tweet something like this.
Sure.
I don't think it would be an issue if it was just like random fans saying this to him,
Yeah.
But the fact that it's like known people, like casters, owners of like Brazilian orgs and stuff like that, like coming on Twitter and publicly saying this is just so much worse than just like a random guy who's gonna get like 1 like on his tweet,
Yeah, no, this Gustavo Mela, he's probably a fucking Brazilian Valorant caster, right?
He is.
Right?
Yes, he is.
Yes.
Shut your fucking mouth, buddy. I don't know why you as like a caster really need to weigh on. I guess he's trying to. I guess he's trying to pontificate to Shazam to grow up. I guess the tweet prior to this, he goofed, he joked about calling a tech pause, right? They should have called a tech pause. Maybe that would have, learned to win. It is making light of the situation, and yeah, I guess it would kind of annoy people here. But like, I think, to be fair, I'm gonna be really honest with you. Zombs is the kind of guy that probably just loves to fucking piss people off, and he is, frankly, as far as I can tell, a dick.
Yeah.
He's just a dick. This tweet,
he's been like this way since Overwatch,
yeah,
right?
he's always he's always been like this. He honestly brings this brand of incel energy that really seems to collect himself a rule following. But that's fine. That's his business, right? He's just a fucking obnoxious white guy. What are you supposed to do? His tweet here, it qualifies as trash talk, but it's not. There's not really a lot of clarification as to what he really means. So Zombs gives people license here to make whatever they want of this tweet, right? And they did. The way I read it, which is not the way that everyone reads it, is that your region, Brazil, on the whole, at the top level, are shit at Valorant. Your region is shit at Valorant, is what he's trying to say. I believe that is a charitable way of looking at it, and I think the most likely one, if we're going to use Occam's razor here. This doesn't get read that way. I think a lot of people read it as like the area in which you live or the country that you inhabit or the culture or everything that's involved there is shit. You are shit. You people, shit, right? That is, and I think like a lot of people weighed in on this particular part of the discussion. The problem for Zombs is that he probably knew that it would be really easy to take his tweet the wrong way, and he didn't care. He didn't care. So in my opinion, the blowback that he gets is on him. I have used 280 character tweets in like a chain of 5 different tweets to try and make myself clear. And some dickhead is still able to get the wrong idea. Someone is still able to misinterpret me. This is a terrible format for anything like that. If you're trying to really make yourself known, you should get on a podcast and then just have all the airtime taken by a dickhead like me. You know what I mean? Like that would be much easier. But, Zombs is asking for it, man. But what I think is even more pathetic than him tweeting this is people in like managerial positions crying for him to be punished. Roll this one. This is a fucking great tweet. Oh, okay, dude. So, on the car events, apparently this guy's this co-CEO of Furia. Thanks for announcing your position to everybody like we actually give a fuck, mate. Brilliant. So, yeah, this guy is saying it cannot happen. This kind of behavior cannot happen. Now, I don't know what you guys think, but I think it should not happen. But I don't think it's necessarily punishable. It's not great sportsmanship. It's poor sportsmanship. Yeah, and Bolts even. I love that Bolts weighs in on this. Wasn't Bolts from the MIBR team?
Yeah.
Didn't he play with the guy that fucking threatened physical violence or like literally issued a death threat to FNS?
I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember exactly when that was. I think that was when they were
literally implied, like he was jokingly implied that like MIBR had been up like drinking the night before or whatever, or weren't taking things very seriously. And then King's like, prove it or I'll. He didn't say kill you, right? He said, we say prove it or else. Did he actually say prove it or I'll kill you?
I think so. I think that's how it escalated to that high. Jesus. And I think it was their time to when they were in Immortals. I think this was like a Canadian event, if I'm not mistaken. I think I casted that event. I think that was Northern Arena. That doesn't matter. But yes, that said, there's been. I just feel that there's some things that are lost in translation, but I do get it. So I had conversations a lot with some fans as well from Brazil in my DMs to like understand the situation and stuff like that too. And I get it, right? I get it to where the culture and community comes from, to a sense that when somebody aspires to be a pro gamer, pro European soccer player, or European football player, or just be successful in life, they have to go through a lot of trials and trepidations, which now we're happy as a nation when we see our heroes able to perform on the bigger stage and they're performing well. There's so much national pride in that, which is great. That brings that great sportsmanship. Where I don't like it, it's where we get lost in translation in the end, that now we feel that we have to attack anybody that goes against our ideas or goes against our pride, because we're sort of like insulting or hurting their pride just by showing their simple reality that they didn't fucking make it. And yes, maybe Zombs said it in the wrong way, but he didn't mean to say shit region by saying shit region as in you suck Brazil.
That's our take on it, right? And I think that's the most reasonable one. But
yeah,
we just have to be clear that it can be interpreted differently if you're interpreting it in bad faith. Right?
You think, yeah, I mean, in the end, if you're looking at the banter that happens from region to region and you see Carlos fly a fucking plane that says, fuck Sentinels, like, I mean, you know that in Valorant, we're just fucking bantering, man. Can
you imagine if it said fuck Furia? Or like, can you imagine if he had put a Brazilian team on that?
It would be fucking insane.
This is what I mean. Brazilian fans are professional victims. You guys just...
Do you think Zombs...
It's always everybody
Zombs
against
cares
you.
from his interview that he's like... That he lays out in the interview that it feels like he's a fucking racist. No, not at all. He's just fucking like making sure that he's tilting you by saying the shit that's gonna get under your skin, living rent free in your head. Because if I'm gonna ask Zombs, what do you think about this situation? He's like, I don't fucking care. I'm still getting fucking paid. I'm still winning. That's what he said in his fucking interview. I still have fucking 5 Rolexes. Does it matter what people think about me? No. But does that make, like, what he says, does it allude to, like, he's trying to insult the whole region and trying to be racist? I don't think so. Just
I mean,
based
it's not racist. He's just you guys are bad at Valorant. I mean, like he said, like you guys aren't.
But that's what I'm saying. He says you're bad at Valorant, but they're now bringing it over to like a victimization of like you're now
that's called
insulting
identity
us.
Politics, Van Silly. That's what it is, mate. It's okay.
Anyone who thinks that he was being racist in any way is just an idiot. Like,
you're
no
fucking brain dead if you think that, and you're projecting and you're being a victim, and you need to just.
No way.
That's it. That shit. Yeah, man.
You guys literally called us gringos, and like, sorry, but I know full well that it's not friendly. It's not just off the cuff stuff.
But this is,
and by the way, it matters if it offends us because it's the impact that's important. And you guys call us that. It's derogatory. We all know it is. You can't pretend it's not.
But this is why it shouldn't be about a, region versus region or blah, blah, blah versus blah, blah, blah. It's just shit people in general. Because it's not, this is an example of what happened because it is an example of what happened between Zombs and Brazil. Okay, I'm going to say Brazil at this point because everybody was fucking at him. He had so many fucking impressions from that. But if you look at it from like my CSGO days when, Virtus Pro started falling off from like their domination era, or dominating era, sorry, and Pasha was getting fucking DMs by people saying that he wishes that his family would die and that his fucking kids would get sick, blah, 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 blah. And it gets to that fucking point where like, why would you fucking DM people to say that kind of shit? Right? It's not about who you are or not where you're from, but who you are as a person. Why do you have to be that shitty to have to fucking attack people, no matter what they said, to a point where you're bringing out death threats? That's not the way to fucking go. How do you want to support this esport that way? Right? It's cool to be passionate about your team, right? Like, I'm passionate about this topic right now. It's cool for me to be angry. It's cool for me to say, to be like, holy fuck, man, Sentinels lost. They fucking suck. I'll defend them to say, look, they lost, but they're still going to be fine. I'll defend them in that sense. But I'm not going to go and fucking message Cruise players and fucking start talking shit and fucking sending death threats. Like, that's the fucking play.
Yeah, it's wrong. It's not just like one or two guys. I always see the same the people in replies like, yeah, no, it's not. It's just a couple people. It's not like you guys. There's a lot of you. Like credit, you guys really turn up. You guys really turn up for your people, which is great. But let's see this Furia, the Furia manager, the CEO's tweet. I just want to point out something that's just fucking so dumb here.
Such a
roll it. I know our producer wants us to move on, but there's just something here that isn't right to me. Andre Akari, fuck you, by the way, Andre Akari. As the co-CEO of Furia, Esports and a Brazilian, I would like to see this kind of behavior be punished accordingly. According to what? What kind of code? It cannot happen. Well, I mean, it's borderline. It's not good sportsmanship, so that's fair. But yeah, it's within the realm of banter. You guys, Brazilian people, I know you guys have a really aggressive style of communication, and I've seen like you guys will insult even your very best friends, and like I guess it doesn't mean anything to you guys. It's funny, but like when I see Brazilian folk interact with non-Brazilian speakers, right, and when they're trying to do it in English, like it always translates really nicely. So just be aware of that. Esports is about respect, passion, love. I mean, that's what you think. That's that's what you feel. Esports is about memes and putting Pepe on people's faces. Esports is about a lot of things to many different people. This is the best part. Disrespect 220 million people, a lot of them living in poverty. First of all, No, just the ones that play Valorant in Brazil, just the Brazilian Valorant, and probably just the professional, the competitive scene. So, and are they living in poverty? I mean, they probably have PCs or are able to, you know, if they're able to play at a top level, they're probably not that well off.
Also, you fucking cunt, your profile picture costs $50,000. You shitlord. How about you fucking sell that and go and, you know, support some of the 220 million people, the ones living in poverty that you're trying to fucking represent?
Well,
You fucking asinine prick.
in fairness, if I've worked hard for my money, it's kind of like my money, you know? Like,
Sure, that's
Yeah,
fine. But
right?
you're appealing to someone disrespecting your country that has people, which by the way is just that has nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? So he gets it wrong, and then he has to give himself a title in the tweet so everyone sort of knows. And then he's like appealing to respecting people that don't have a lot of money. I'm like, I mean, I don't know. If I didn't have a lot of money, if I was destitute and I saw you sort of professing to represent me when your profile picture costs, you know, like twice my yearly salary, if not more, I don't know. I don't know how I'd feel about that.
in the
it's
end,
just
man,
funny.
I'm just fucking tired of all this fucking shit in the world, dude. If he says that esports is about the love of the game, the respect of the game, I'm fucking all for that shit. Let's fucking just make sure that we're fucking chill and fucking move forward and
Okay.
fucking hold each
I'm
other's
chilling,
hands.
Vans. I'm chilling. All right. I'm chilling. Let's talk about
Thank you.
Sentinels versus Team Liquid here. All right. So this one was a gigabanger. I mean, going into it, we had high hopes, and I think this series really delivered, guys. One of the best games I've seen in a while. The bind map was weird, but you know, the Breeze and Split were excellent. Let's talk about the Breeze here because again, Nivera very active in this game, and Ten's obviously also looking for a lot of early stuff here, but it's close. It's real close.
Yeah. I think this was finally the game, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to look back at the tape, but like it took forever for Scream and Yampi to step up to the plate to actually get warmed up into the game because Scream was dashing at random places, like when it was his first time playing, like it was his first time playing Jet, or when it was Yampi his first time playing Jet for Liquid, and just missing his dashes, going straight into somebody's face and just gets owned, gets just boomed, and Sentinels were running away with this game until this fucking round right here, like this whole 2v1 with Link and Shazam and Sig. Look at what happens here. Look at where Sick is. Why is Sick looking towards the pillar on the left side? Where is that communication? It's a 2v1. Shazam is fighting Link at the boxes, and Sick is looking away at right side pyramid towards where default plant would usually be. And why does that happen? How does this happen from Sentinels, where we actually always commend how Sentinels are so good at training, so good at the fundamentals, right? Where were the fundamentals there? Where were the communication there? What happened for Sentinels?
That was just really bad timing. Like I think Shazam had like the shock dart out instead of just like moving 2 steps forward and just peeking. And
Yeah, but why was
that
Sick
would've-
looking
that
the
would've-
other way? Where's the comm
Yeah,
that was telling
yeah, I
Sick
don't- I
that it's a
don't know
2v1 on
why
I
Sick
don't
triple?
think they
looking the other
realized.
way.
They didn't. Did they
That's
not
weird.
know that Link was behind that box? Was
They
he
do.
somehow?
Shazam was already
No,
fighting him
they
there.
knew it.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying. Why am I so angry?
There's-
I'm so fucking passionate about Sentinels that it just fucking gets
Yeah,
me to watch
I've
him lose.
never seen that from stream before in my life. Like,
Yeah.
0-11, 0 assists as well, and like 9 first deaths or something like that.
Yeah.
And never have I seen that from him. in Valorant.
Zero first bloods too, as
Yeah,
a
he's
Jet
0
duelist
9.
on
What?
Breeze.
I just don't get it. Like, what was
Yeah.
happening in that game? Because the rest of the series, the rest of this tournament, he's been fine. It was just such an odd start to the to the series.
I want to
Mhm.
check the Matrix because, yeah, I want to see how that fucking happened. I mean, who's he getting rolled by here?
I think everybody, because like I said, when they started on the attacker side first, they only got 4 rounds, and when they were trying to push into B site, like I said, like the simple things of, you know, when you're trying to get into B main and you're smoking atop the left side tower and you jet dash on top of that, he was missing those dashes and hitting straight into the pillar on the ground, where he just get owned by the corner of the left side ladder. So I think it was just
everyone on the
mechanically
team
it
was
didn't
getting a
work
go. I mean, Shazam is 1-0 against him. Tens is 3-0. Sick is
That's what I'm
3-0.
saying.
Zombs is 2-0 against him. So
Yeah.
just a really bad. I mean, credit where it's due. He gets carried by his little brother. I mean, not you know what I mean. And then obviously they end up winning the map, which is great. And then we had a very angry Sentinels come through on bind here, which is I don't know how much you want to talk about this. This is really
No,
fucking one-sided.
13-2.
Wow. How is it that is it not just Team Liquid do this, right? Like even in winning series, they have like these random maps where they just get ruined.
Yeah, I think they were just trying something new too, right, Tiny?
Yeah, this is a completely new comp for this map as well for them, and I don't know, they just didn't crack it enough, or like maybe they were like, "Oh, Sentinels play exactly like this. Let's come out with this counter strat for it, or like counter comp for it even." So they don't even have that much practice on it. Whatever it was, just didn't work. I hope we never see that again.
Yeah,
in the playoffs.
And even then, they weren't that great. Well, not that great. They haven't been the most successful on Bind anyways, where their deeper map pool is on everything else, right? So this was actually a good chance for Sentinels to come back. Yeah. Yeah,
I actually hate this map so much.
I love Bind, but that's because I'm a ranked pleb, but that's a different story. But definitely, I do think that this was like straightforward matchup. Nothing that they could really do. Try to KO in there instead of a Sky. Trying to see if that could maybe slow down some utility being used here by Sentinels at that point in this matchup, because I think they still had Viper, right? So maybe if they could isolate Viper to be able to just counterattack, but it just didn't work. Tens was popping off too.
I feel like we got the conclusion though that we deserved to this series on Split. This was. No, oh, man, this was heartbreak. I mean, heartbreak. Dapper was he was doing everything he could on this particular map to keep Sentinels in it, man. But
yeah,
Liquid and Scream finally came alive big time on this map.
That's the thing. I'll let you start, Tanny, and then I'll mold.
Yeah, like honestly, Link had so much impact on this game, I feel, with the breach that the Sentinels couldn't do anything. His stuns were perfect at denying space.
Yeah,
like the flash is so good. Like his stats aren't there. He's not the one getting the kills, but he's such a good supportive player for them.
Well, he's also been always a sick A site anchor as a breach usually from like the early days too when I was watching him play.
But also, like I just really do not like Sentinel's comp on this either. Like the Jet, the way that Tens plays Jet on this map is really annoying me. Like it was the same case against Crew as well.
Yeah.
He's not getting any value for it.
Yeah, why are they so attached to forcing the Jet here? Doesn't this happen? This happens against Crew as well.
But maybe he's just really uncomfortable on the Raze because you can't just play the Reyna here. I feel I think you need either the Jet or the Raze.
Correct.
Right. If you just play the Reyna, you're gonna lose a lot of. You just have to rely on your dry peaks.
I think you need to raise you need to raise no matter what at this point.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I think Raze is just way too good on this map. Like, and I hate this Jet pick so much.
Yeah,
he's not getting any value of how he plays at all.
So the good news for Liquid is that they actually went double duelist, right? So they actually had a Raze, but they also had a Reyna, and both their duelists fucking popped off. But so exactly
good on the Raze actually.
On Raze. So you're looking at creating space. If you can't have a Jet, you do it with the Raze. He's done it super well, not only on satchel charges, but just needing to clear space. But Scream just showed as well, after having such a slow start on the first map, how good he was on the third map and how comfortable he was on Reyna. And he just fucking owned everybody on B site and when he was playing defense. It was so hard to get through a Liquid's defense when you were playing as Sentinels. Where I mulled a bit is I agree with Tanny, is where I feel that if Tens wasn't going to play Raze at this point, give the Raze to Sick. And have Tens play Sage if you have to. I think they were doing really good in terms of slowing pushes and slowing attacks with their slow orbs and their gravity wells. But the thing is, you have a composition that doesn't have any other utility that could support on those slow orbs, on those gravity wells, besides maybe a Viper. But Dapper wasn't at that position to support. So if you actually had a Raze for that, that could help at least for one.
But not only that, but like he likes to play the Jet Orb so much on this map, right?
Yes.
But when you have two smokers on your team and then two on the enemy team as well, with the Viper and the Astra on both teams, you just can't see anything on this map. Like there's no way you have the sight lines to do anything with the orb here.
Yeah.
And if you see him just like trying to jump through smokes and get like a flashy kill, that's not consistent, you know?
Yeah.
It was his downfall in the Crew match as well, which we'll get to.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exact same thing. That's why I tweeted before it. Like, there's, they looked so shaky versus Liquid on Split that I think this is going to be really close.
All right. Yeah. Let's talk about the next match in this series, because now we start to get to the elimination games in Group B. Group B, that's where we are. Still on Group B. Furia versus Crew here, though. So obviously it's do or die for both these teams. And Furia are obviously, falling to the hands of Sentinels here, have to go up against Crew, who, as we, sort of discussed, had to go up against Liquid and didn't look very good. So this is where it starts here for Crew. This is where the run back presumably is happening. Fracture is the first map. It's actually a Crew pick. But Furia looked pretty ready here, especially on the attacking side.
Yeah, Crew actually looked pretty good. It was nice to see a little bit of Fracture as well. I even think that, if I'm not mistaken, Crew were the type of team that were playing very aggressively on dish side control too against Furia. It was a nice little back and forth. It was weird comps overall though to still have some Jets, on this map. But it works out evenly for these two teams when you're playing like a mirror comp. So
I don't mind the Jet actually on this map.
I think it's another one where I like a raise as well again.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would prefer it, but I don't think the Jet is as bad as it is on Split. But what was weird was both teams were playing Astra here as well. Like normally I've just seen, well, at least in EU, you only see the solo smoker, just the Viper comp here.
Yeah.
So that was a bit weird seeing Astra on both sides.
Yeah, and I think when I had the discussion with Mike's as well, it's like, what do you think about just having a Viper on there too? He's like, it's kind of cap. I kind of wish that he had as well the Astra to support too, because I think because there's the map is so big, or you're kind of like stuck on certain chokes when you're playing defense, like you're like pretty much at one and dones, right? So it gets a little bit more difficult, but yeah, nice back and forth.
Obviously, for those who are not following, Brazil are out of champions in their entirety now, as Vikings have fallen. And of course, there was a Zombs tweet to go along with it, but we'll let you find that one yourself. Please. Don't worry, well, you guys can find it. You won't be able to miss it. Don't worry. He's had some interesting
we'll
engagement.
get to Group C soon.
We'll eventually find our way there. Again, let's keep moving through this here. So we have to, map 3 was Haven, right?
Yeah.
First of all, I just want to say, I thought the breach was fucking nasty for Kesnet on map 1. That was a fucking giga carry, but Haven,
Kesnet is
good first.
so good.
Yep.
Yeah, right. I mean, this is it. I mean, for both teams here, the loser of this map goes home, and Crew trying to hang on.
Yeah, and hang on, they did. I think again, for when it comes down to like Latin America, South America as well, I think you always have, so far, Crew has been taking the upper hand out of all these games. So whenever they have potentially playing against the second or third of the three in terms of skill, then you'd probably give that opportunity here to Crew. And it's also not only on Kesnet, but I also think Manzino was one of those that actually did very, very well this tournament so far too, for Crew.
And it's the final moments here as Furia is about to bow out. Obviously, the first of the Brazilian teams that go the way of the weary here. And this, this kind of sets the stage for one of the biggest upsets I think we may have seen in Valorant history, right? I think it definitely is up there. Sentinels obviously played pretty close, and with that dominant performance on Bind against, Liquid, we're feeling like they should be pretty favored here in this series. Crew ban Bind straight away. So they actually took that out of the pool. Sentinels are still banning Icebox, as we know. So that means Crew actually picked Fracture, which means we get Fracture map 1, in which Sentinels defense looks pretty rock solid to start with. It's like a 9-4 halftime, right?
Yeah. And this is where, when I say about the double control, it's been totally canceled out by how Sentinels play. So, Tanny, I think you have more to say on this single controller with the Viper as to how Europe plays it.
Yeah, no, it was just a bit weird to see other teams playing Astra, but like I get why you would do it. It does make sense. There's like 4 avenues to this map. So the more you can cover, the better. And the Viper on its own just isn't going to be able to do that as well. But the way the Sentinels were playing here, they were playing like retake almost every site. So they were just bombarding utility at Crew, just playing flashes, nades, everything. And just, it was, as Sick likes to call it, it's a utility dump meta.
Correct.
So, they were just using so much to get back into these sites that Crew didn't have a chance. Like, they were using so much, Crew were using so much of their own utility to get into the site that they had nothing left for the retake.
Yeah.
This breach obviously getting a lot of mileage on Fracture as well. And the breach is just getting a ton. Yeah, getting a ton of fucking kills here. What do you think it is that makes him, a must pick on this map? We also kind of see him on Haven, right?
Breach,
Um,
yeah.
Yeah, you see him sometimes on Haven, not too often, because Haven's still a much more open map, but I feel Breeze has just so many places and like so many little spots where you can just flash through when you're nowhere near the site, you know? Um, and it's just so good for helping someone out. Someone can just call for it, they just flash through.
So it
You
doesn't
don't need
matter
to give up
how
any
long it
position
is.
yourself, though.
It doesn't matter how far it is as the crow flies. If it goes through one wall and then in a straight line, it'll come out the other side, no matter how long it is. Fuck me sideways, that's mental. I don't play much Breach here, but I thought there'd be like a limitation to that. Like, if you're trying to like...
there is for the initial wall, but it's far, very far.
Jesus. Again, there's that Haven match up there where, okay, so this one here is, oh boy, I mean,
look,
not a good map for Zombs. Definitely 54 ADR is not where you want to be, I think.
Yeah.
On this in a game like this, 0-4 first kills. And this is the beginning of the end for your beloved Sentinels, Van.
Yeah, this is exactly what I want to say about how they were just able so counter a default was just like changing the pace of the game and really taking the reins of the game too, taking control of the game. Because once you saw Sentinels, like they were doing very well, but how Crew kind of caught up, they just really started getting very, very aggressive. Hold W off Nexet. And also on Kesnet, and then everything just worked out in their favor in terms of entering sites, getting like a lot of like 4v2s or whatnot, where it was very difficult for Sentinels to actually play retakes, right? In the end, though, like this map and the previous map, and also their map on Split versus Liquid, again, is not a Sentinels that I fucking know. I am so upset on that map, on the second map, actually, on Haven against Crew, where it was basically a 3 versus 2 for Sentinels. And it was an execution on Crew trying to take towards the A site. Sick hears them rotate back from A site to B with no time left. So they have to plan into B. But we still hesitated towards the A site and still didn't rotate fast enough, where Sick had to try to deny a plant on a 2v1 on his own. When he died, I think it was Dapper, the second player, that swung in on his own again to try to win a 2v1. And then the third player had to win a 1v2. And I think it was Zombs, and it just didn't work out. And then their match versus Liquid, I mean, fuck it. I don't know, man. They just lacked communication. They were not as fundamentally sound as we know them for. Which is why defaulting is not the playstyle anymore.
I don't know if it's overconfidence, though, because you take those sort of duels
not anymore.
when you know that, you can just out-aim the opponent, right? You take those and you don't care about keeping the advantage anymore. You're just like, let's just end the round now. But yeah, it's been an issue for them, and I think this is a big issue in their setup, actually. Their CT default, both on Haven and on Split, kind of just leave Zombs alone and to like fend for himself. They just say like, you have all the Astra utility, just fucking survive here, and it will come when you have some info.
Yeah, buy some fucking
And he's getting caught off so much. He cannot hold these sites on his own at all. Like he was getting absolutely farmed by that. It was such a weird thing to see that they didn't switch it up either. Like not from map to map and not from series to series even. They just said, Zombs had a bad map, let's go next. He'll get 20 kills the next time we play this, but he didn't, and it's like a fundamental issue with this effort.
I'm also sick about people talking about fucking ratios and kill KDAs on performances and shit, because there's just so much that goes on and like.
I mean, he had like 50 ADR though, right? Like he's not able to hit people. Unfortunately.
Yeah, but he's also the type of person that when Sentinels is going to have to try to play it a little bit more aggressively or try to go for a buy, he's also the one that's dropping the weapons for his teammates too. Like, he's always going to put himself in a position where he's going to play most of his utility. And you could also have 50 ADR, but still have like 50 sucks as an assist, Like, none of his abilities do any damage.
So
yeah, but if you're going to have the inferior weaponry and be playing around your utility like that, I think you need some help to do it. I don't think you can just.
But that's what I'm saying.
On your own.
That's what we didn't get from Sentinels anymore. Like that.
Yeah.
I think that's why I'm saying it's there's a lack of I don't know, man. It was just not the same Sentinels as champions that I saw from beginning of 2021 till Berlin Masters 3.
Yeah.
They were so dominant on everything until then.
They actually peaked at the wrong time. Well, they maintained a peak for quite a lot of the year, but just not when it counted. Here's a tweet. Greetings to Zombs. Crew Esports coach Onua said via translator, because if he thought Brazil was the saddest region, because I don't like to say shit, then we were the hyper shit, and the hyper shit just sent you home.
This is a weird tweet though. Like,
Yeah.
Crew have eliminated Brazilian teams at every fucking international lane they've been at.
Yeah.
They are the Brazil killers. So I don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Yeah. Also, why would you just be like, oh yeah, we're just the shitter region?
Yeah. I mean, it's not even true.
I don't understand.
It's like LATAM is objectively better than Brazil at this point because it's Crew that. Well, okay. I mean,
Yeah.
in the context of these tournaments, because they literally. Someone tweeted, it was a sideshow, or no, fucking, I don't know, Fion or whatever. Someone's like, yeah, Iceland, Berlin, here, it's been Brazilian teams getting knocked out by Crew. This time was Furia, right? So I get it. I'm sure there's like some sort of South American brotherhood kind of going on there.
Exactly, that's what it was, because that's what was followed up later on with tweets. It's like, hey, we're still like close with our friends in Brazil, so it's nice that we're able to knock out an NA team, and we did justice to the region for just Latin America and South America.
I mean, if you feel like,
which is great.
If you feel like, you know, the Brazilian teams were wronged in any real way, and you want to ignore the fact that death threats are flying like fucking raindrops, then that's fine. You can say that. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. This is obviously Tenz's reaction here. Taking a while. Yeah, obviously Scream just, you know, looking to sort of trying to hype him up a little bit. But I mean, everyone's shocked. Sentinels fucking boomed out of the tournament. That's the way the cookie crumbles, ladies and gentlemen. You know, there's still, look, Cloud9 are through, although there's something going on with something that happened in like the last round, I think, which is being discussed at the moment. I don't know all the details about that. And of course, we're waiting now as we speak on Envy versus X10C, which is
not another camera.
Yeah,
no,
I
think it's fine.
I think it was fine, but yeah, I don't know.
If it's about what Kukuka was asking on the last round between C9 and Vision Strikers, I think it was more strat wise than anything else as to because yeah.
Sorry, keep going.
Go ahead.
Just a comment in chat saying that Crew's coach was not talking gameplay wise. He was talking about the infrastructure.
Yeah.
But Zombs was talking gameplay wise. So you either need to talk gameplay wise with Zombs, because that's what he was talking about. It wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, you can't just then decide as you're the coach to now talk about regionally where that's not what we believe.
I don't think
everything is lost in translation, man.
I don't think we need to read too deep into this. I think it was just like he's saying some shit just to stir the pot, you know, at this point.
Fuck.
And it's working. Look at all you guys are fucking molding. I don't know.
I'm molding because people are still trying to fucking justify themselves on everything. It's like, we all know that it's things are getting lost in translation, and let's just fucking leave it at that. Is like, people mean one thing, we mean one thing. If we don't agree, let's agree to disagree, and let's fucking move on. We had some great Valorant so far. Great matches. Everybody's having fun.
Can we agree that LATAM is better than North America, though? Show of hands. Can we at least agree that?
No, Cloud9's still in there, and Envy's about to still be in there.
Yeah, listen, Vansily, your region shit, bro. And by that I mean, by that I mean, fast food in America sucks, and frankly, your internet is garbage.
Where's fucking Ian here going next?
All right, yeah, he's in my ear. He actually is. All right, hit the shower. Cool off for a little bit, man. So we'll be back after the break, everybody. We've got more of this to talk about. We've kept Tanny for a while, so we'll try and race through the next group. See you in a sec. About you guys, gentlemen, we had a bit of a break. Mo Salah's just scored against AC Milan. It's an even game now. I'm feeling fucking good. Welcome back, everybody, to Valoranting here. We obviously got snarled up a little bit discussing some topics. Vansily got mad, which was pretty great. A bit of mold silly on the show is always fun to see. And Tanny sat there asking himself what the fuck he's doing with his life for 10 seconds. So,
the weird thing is that I always get angry about topics where I'm trying to get people to be nice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's really the only way. You're like it's like a protective, you're like Smokey the Bear, you know what I mean? Only you can prevent forest fires, you fucking motherfuckers. So, let's talk about this Group C then. Bring out the bracket. Let's start to make our way through this now, of course.
Yes.
As we speak, we've got the Envy X10 game going. So, Gambit Secret, Team Vikings, Crazy Racoon. A lot of people were sort of saying, hang on, this group seems, beforehand, Tanny admitted that his tier list was pretty bad before the team started boot camping. So, but this one looked a little bit more of a cruisy one in general for Gambit, I guess. And what people were looking at this probably saying that it would be Secret getting out, or are they saying Vikings? What even was the general consensus here?
Most people said Crazy Raccoons actually.
Fuck me dead. Yeah, wow.
Speaking with heart, I wanted it to be Crazy Raccoon because they were like the best team. At least, no, not the best team. I just wanted them to succeed. But Vikings were definitely like probably one of the ones where, you know, we haven't seen him since Iceland, as I mentioned before. Probably could get some practice in right now, and they had a chance to like evolve their strats, which we saw as we're about to talk about it, which is nice. And then also Secret probably is another one. Crazy Raccoon ideally was probably going to be the last place coming out of groups.
Right. I mean, but yeah, again, that wasn't. Yeah, okay, gotcha. I was going to say.
I mean, the group was just a massive question mark because we haven't seen two of them since Berlin. So,
and bear in mind, this
sorry,
is still this six-man roster that Crazy Raccoon are playing with, right? It's like Fisker and Medusa, or rather Vazzy and Medusa, rather, switching up with each other. So the only team that's doing this at this event.
Yeah, it is a bit weird seeing that, and having tried six-man rosters, it doesn't work. Like, I'll just tell you that straight up right now.
Yep.
I thought it would because, you know, coming from Overwatch, it does. But
because it fucking has to, Danny.
it just doesn't. Like, the base mechanics are too similar in this game that there's like no big advantage to swapping someone else in.
VS do have 6. Sorry, they do have Lakia. They actually have been playing Lakia. What am I saying? They're not the only team at this event.
Oh,
yeah, they played
so bad for him,
one map and then they lost it against Fnatic, I think, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's
I feel so bad for him. He's literally come in Berlin and then just lost both the maps he's played.
Yeah.
You guys feel like he's not getting set up to? You know, we'll talk about it later. I mean, that's not our topic. But what's up with this Sassy guy, by the way? He's a fucking filthy series. Obviously, Icebox is pretty one-sided. Haven isn't much better. We get the Sassy breach on Haven, and
sick, man.
Vikings looking good.
Yeah, Sassy is a clutcher. He's a fucking fragger. I think even against Crazy Raccoon didn't have like a fucking 4K or something like that on Icebox on like an eco or some shit, and he just like, I don't know, he was popping off, playing super well, and I think on in general, I think that's why maybe even Wyatt had Sassy as his 20th player, and it makes sense. I think it displayed some tremendous skill, and even on his breach when he's not even playing as Sova on what usually he's known for, and on a map like Haven too. Taddy, I don't know what you think about teams not playing Sova on this map, but I feel like it's kind of capped.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of not playing Sova here, especially when people are playing Killjoy. It is good to have that extra utility to destroy the Killjoy ult, and also just the mollies as you're entering site. But the breach can work, but normally it's instead of the Sky.
Yeah.
So that was a weird one that they're playing both.
Yeah.
But this guy is actually like one of the best support players in the world. The fact that he consistently puts up these numbers without even being on Duelist is actually just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this kind of stuff from like Crashies in bursts, right?
Yeah.
At moments, even like Gangster back in the day, right? But this is, you know, I think Sardak, Sassy, excuse me, going into elimination match had the highest rating at the entire event, and obviously it doesn't tell the whole story, right? But the guy is really insane. He's bold too. I'm just saying. It's for the hair is a handicap.
NIP coming to this season, coming to this region, he's the first guy I sign immediately. Like, he cannot be happy on that team either. Like, having to just try and like hard carry.
Imagine like Sassy, Heat, Maurice maybe.
Zera.
Yeah, MW0, bro. That's I mean, now you have 2 Sovas, but I guess you can put him back on a duelist.
He's so flexible, actually.
True. But yeah, we'll talk about that once we get to the point of Nip joining the Brazilian scene. But yeah, I think Crazy Raccoon unfortunately just fell short this tournament. If I want to summarize Crazy Raccoon from their upper bracket run to their lower bracket run, it was just unfortunate where when you look at the competition overall and you're giving a lot of praise to all these regions that were able to one-up from like event to event, Crew, for example, being the best example of improvement from event to event. Crazy Raccoon unfortunately just stayed at a plateau, unfortunately, where even when Neth looked pretty good in Reykjavik, unfortunately didn't perform as probably to his own expectations as well. One thing that's good, at least for Crazy Raccoon, is that they seem to be happy, at least in the end of not making it through to out of groups, and seem to accept a little bit more their fate, in a sense, to be like, okay, we still have room to work, room to improve, but at least we're not going to be so hard on ourselves compared to the other events.
So
This next
I'm not
series
really
is the.
sure how. Go on.
No, I was going to move on. So if you got something to say,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm not really sure how this roster even works though. Like how with half the people speaking Korean, half the
Yeah.
Japanese. How does this actually work? Because like I can't imagine going into a different roster and being like, oh yeah, now speak Russian to us.
Right.
Like how
I
how
heard
is that
that maybe
ever gonna
some
work?
speak Japanese, maybe, but I don't
Really?
know if they all try to like pick that up.
Or
Or is it
well,
Korean, or is it vice versa?
yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah, this none of us know. It's
Yeah.
so odd actually.
I know that. Yeah, Bazi and yeah, I actually don't know, to be
Yeah.
honest. I wonder if it's something weird where they actually use a language like English or like a
Yeah,
sort
maybe
of
they're just common English too. That
I
could
don't.
also
Well,
be like
neither of the ex Overwatch guys had to really speak English,
yeah.
so it wasn't like that. They had that coming in, to my knowledge, anyway. So
You
I
just
have
call
no
the
idea.
abilities and call the spots. You just learn the name of the spots.
Yeah.
So
maybe.
it,
I mean, it does
make
it
things
does
a little
keep your
bit more
comms
flaccid,
trimmed.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, placid. Exactly. All right, let's move on to the weirdest. Let's move on to the weirdest series that I saw. I think this is the weirdest series so far. Gambit versus Team Secret. Because I mean, it's a Secret picks Icebox here, but Gambit's offense is really like flaccid. Here you go, Vans. They don't get much done at all on that attacking side. What like it's like an 8-4, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
yeah. Go ahead, Tiny.
none
I
of
speak too much
Nats's
now.
timings worked. Not
Yeah.
a single one on this map worked. Every single time he thought he had something, he would just get found and killed.
Yep.
It was actually crazy.
And that's
like
that shows
so
how
rare
they.
for Nats as well,
Well,
especially on this map.
Can you prep for those timings, or is it just
That's what I'm
luck?
saying. I feel that
I
they
mean,
prep for those timings.
Kind of. Oh right, you mean like counter strat it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. But it's crazy that it lined up perfectly. Like
Mm-hmm.
you know, sometimes it could work, sometimes it couldn't, and you can counter it. But
Yeah.
they got him every single time. It was
Yeah.
actually just crazy. And
And that's a
Icebox is their
0-6.
best map as well.
Yeah.
Like Icebox is, I think personally, like Gambit's best map. They were, it was their stronghold since like first strike even.
Mm-hmm.
And to see them lose that hard on it was so surprising. I never expected that.
Yeah, I definitely think it was an example of anti-stratting against Gambit, and it really played around like really countering Nats, because even Nats at some point, like when we joke about 13 seconds in, he's behind enemy lines. The only times where he stayed alive longer than 15-20 seconds, he had to play spawn so that he could try to play pulse plant or some shit when they execute towards A side. But like you look at their pistol run, I think they're rushing or not rushing, but holding 3 people on mid side for pistol for Team Secret. And then when you get on to these later rounds, it's like two people working middle to fight against Nats, or you have working extremities and you have the owl drone pinging middle to make sure that they could figure out where Nats would be and that nobody from Gambit will be lurking towards the mid side. So that was one thing. So understanding and gathering information of how Gambit were working their offensive side was read almost every single round, it seems like, from Team Secret. And then you had Wits that fucking like he definitely impressed me on that first map.
So what about map 2 then? Did they impress you on map 2?
Nope.
Did anybody on Team Secret impress you, Van Silly?
No, let's go to map 3.
Jesus, this is a fucking
I don't even know
dropping.
what went wrong here. Like, because also Gambit playing the Killjoy, which I do not like on this map.
It's
I
fucking weird.
don't think you're like ever
can-
in range of your
you can only
turret
just-
and stuff.
No, you just execute behind lockdown. That's the only way. Who was doing this? Was it C9
Dapper.
doing this, Van Silly?
Dapper.
Dapper. Yeah, Dapper was doing this at some point. I don't know why the fuck. And they would just like explode out of A main with lockdown and try and take this. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, I mean, you have certain strats that you could run with the Killjoy, as well as if you're going to throw the lockdown towards the A holes, so that the radius pushes out the defenders towards the right side of the wall in the palm tree, so you could start executing with the Viper's wall, the toxic screen, and do executions to keep them pinned in there. So it kind of works in that sense, but it also is pretty strong in these clutch situations if your Killjoy's still alive too. On pulse plants, just put it right onto the spike to run that clock down even more. So that could maybe help for you to even leave the site more than trying to get into the site, which is potentially how you kind of like change a little bit how you want to play the Killjoy to what you're usually known to play her for. But definitely for the Gambit and Secret, there was nothing really to talk about, man.
Yeah, lose the map on the pistol round. Let's move on to Bind then. I suppose.
Yep.
So this is just the map that was left in the pool, obviously, as it's map 3 here.
Yeah.
Natsa's timings. What about this? What about this map?
Tiny, I'll let you start.
They're not playing Viper, they lose. That's as simple as it is on this map, I feel.
Yeah.
Like, I feel so many teams have tried to do stuff which isn't the Viper, and every single time they just fail. Like, you got to play the Viper. You can play a different second smoker, like Acend play the Brim instead of Astra. But you just got to play the Viper.
Yeah.
This wall from Octagon is disgusting, by the way. Does it get thrown from elbow or no? I guess you throw from Octagon, right?
from sight, yeah, from like shed. So you could throw it from the shed just on the left side of Octagon and goes all the way across. But this map was like left in a rotation, but at the same time, a lot of people would put it like a huge question mark as to why you would leave that in a rotation when you're playing against Gambit on this map. But I had faith in Dubstep and Team Secret going into that map because of how well they played Icebox. When they were able to read against the lurks of Nats so well on Icebox, I was like, well, fuck. They must have learned so much to try to anti-strike Nats and everybody else on that first map that they have something aligned here for the third map. And on the third map, they couldn't stop Nats.
Going back to the map ban, they banned Ascent, right? Like, Secret banned Ascent, which is normally Gambit's ban.
That's right.
So that doesn't really make sense for me. And
they
it's
just
also
wanted
like
to try to beat them in the best map.
Well, they just wanted to beat them on Bind and nowhere else.
Just like
Odd
that
decision for sure.
Oh, so Gambit normally ban Ascent, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, Gambit normally ban Ascent.
In the next game, Vikings fucking banned Ascent as well.
Yeah,
I don't know why people are banning
Ascent.
Ascent.
Do they not like look at the past vetoes or anything?
Is this like something from scrims that they just
probably the scrim bucks
are
ringing, but I doubt it. It was weird.
Let's talk about that series anyway, because Gambit play Vikings in the upper final here, and it starts on split. This is a Gambit pick, right? After look, there's not much to say here. Vikings win the pistol, and then after that, Gambit have them figured out, right? I think they actually lose their first gun round.
Yeah, they actually lose the bonus.
Yeah, shit. And then I guess they they cobble back together with on there. I guess their next buy, they're able to start to shut them out here. I mean, Defo's involved like a ton of early fighting here. In fairness, like this is an example of a jet that can get some value on this map, right? Defo. But tell me, did it feel like Defo was playing differently to the way that like Tens did, for example, that allows him to still be impactful as a jet on a map like this, even though you are still still dealing with an Astro?
Yeah.
I mean, but they're not dealing with a Viper on the enemy team. Yeah, that's the main thing. There's a giant curtain across your screen. You can't do anything.
Yeah.
But also, the way Defo plays is completely different to Tens. Like, Tens takes these super aggressive angles to try and always get the first kill. But, like, Defo, it was kind of a meme in EU where he wasn't actually a very good jet, but people just didn't understand how he played because he took such tight angles. Sometimes he'd hit the shot, sometimes he'd just leg them or just miss.
Yeah.
But he'd never die. But it was enough to let Nats get whatever timing he wanted around the map, And that's how he played, and that's how he still plays, actually. And he just takes these super, super tight angles. If you ever watch it, it's like pixel peaks in.
They put him in a position where he's got to be like insane reaction time to hit the shot.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. Like in CS, like super tight, like a couple pixel angles, And that's what works for them. That's absolutely what wins them games as well.
What about this one then? Yeah, it make no sense to me, guys. They make no fucking sense at all. So they're on bind now, and they get kind of rolled, right? Like really defensively, like didn't really, I don't know, have a lot up their sleeve here to stop Vikings. Vikings look fucking really good on this map.
It's a jet, I'm telling you, it's a jet.
Defo's jet on the map?
Into the double smoke of both teams. Yeah.
That could be one too, but I also see that Vikings also was another team that like studied and prepared against Gambit as well. I think it was like one of those sick rounds where You know, I always, by the way, I'm going to go on a small tangent here. I hate when this happens where every time before we go live on a show, we always have our meetings and Ian's like, hey, do you have anything you want to talk about in terms of like the series or whatever? I was like, no, I'm good. I'm good. And then once we started talking about it, I was like, oh yeah, this round. And I was like, oh fuck, I should have told him. But there was this one round where actually Sadak was rotating from B over to the A side because a hit was happening towards A site from Gambit. And they were all trying to push towards U. And Sadak actually had a lineup of a snake bite from spawn side into front of you that allowed Sutika's with the Spectre to mow down 3 players. I was like, holy shit, that's fucking sick. I mean, it was nothing but timing for sure to allow to get those kills, but to get that type of like studying rotations on your end to make sure that you're able to regain sights on how Gambit plays were like one of those examples of how you could actually or how it looked prepared. Sorry for Vikings to play against Gambit.
Couldn't that, it could allow you, like, if you're saying, like, so, I mean, you're not going to sit in spawn like it's Icebox, right? But it could allow you to, like, buy time for yourself to pivot through, right? So it does seem like, dude, it was wild. It made me feel like Sadhack can just fucking, you know, snake bite any part of the map.
Yeah.
But as far as the strategy is, like, mid-rotate, throw down this, and it might, you know, it might have actually just been to buy time, right? Buy time for him to rotate.
Exactly,
but
exactly.
in effect, it actually did more than that. It allowed them to just fuck the 3 players up that were stood in there. So I picking my jaw off the ground when I saw it. I'm like, fuck, that's how you can really tell someone's Giga experience if they can just go, oh yeah, this beam and this fucking ray of sunlight, fucking send the snake bite off, bro. Damn, dude, no one's body blocking that shit, are they?
Ian is just telling me in my ear too that Nats in the interview said that he was going to steal that lineup as well because it was so strong. So that's pretty sick. And you could actually fucking snake bite from anywhere across the map because if you look at Estelle, he's also another one that throws a Viper snake bite from B site into A site default playing Pulse Plant. That way too. So it's some weird gimmicky stuff that unfortunately against other SEA teams it was figured out and that it didn't work 100% of the time against them, but it would work for like those one-offs, you know?
So this time on Icebox, I think this is a different comp, right? They have it's double duelist now from Gambit. I think they only played the single jet in their matchup against Seeker, right? Am I out of my mind? Let me have a look here.
I think
Shados is on random both times. Okay, so excuse me, I got my wires crossed there. But
all good FNS. Speaking of all good FNS, it's 2-0 for X10.
Yeah, early days yet. NA molding.
Not over. It's not over. But yeah, I think this map was sick. I think overall, unfortunately, Vikings. You know, I don't want to say the concept of throwing because I don't want to get people to come at me, but I think that. They definitely had the match in the bag. That should have been a Vikings victory. I think it was this one where Sassi on an eco had like a Hunter's Fury double kill and pistol kills on top of that. Also topping the charts again for Sova's on Icebox. And suddenly, like looking at that half in the end, what was it, like 12-5, 12? Here, I'm going to count it right there. 12-5 at the half, and it lost in OT. How crazy is that? Everything just gets shambled out there in terms of like momentum. And like you said, Tiny, if they're a team that works out of momentum, they definitely lost it there.
How is it this close, even like on Gambit's best map? You know, like how our team's getting such a big in.
It's the Sentinels effect. It's a Sentinels effect where you know you're at the top. You've won Iceland. Right? Oh, sorry. Yeah, you've won Berlin, in Masters 3.
Yeah.
And, like, you're now that team on the target that everybody's going to study because now people realize that, okay, Sentinels are actually human after all. They lost to, like, FRQ, or lost to G2, rather, and also lost in quarters out of group. So they're beatable. So who's the other team that's comes out of nowhere and is able to win Berlin? It's fucking Gambit. So we got to figure out how they play. What are they doing? Why is Nats the best play in the world? And you counter all that shit.
I mean, I think every Viper in EU has just stolen Nats's lineups and setups on Viper.
Exactly.
Literally every single one. It's the same now.
Yep.
Scrims.
That's how you have it close.
All right, let's talk Team Secret Crazy Racoon. This is the first elimination match of this group, and I mean, I don't know, man. Team Secret are really, really good, but you know, it's great that we actually finally get to really properly see them in action here, right? But Crazy Racoon, unfortunately, you can see the difference between teams that improve, you know, between Masters and Champions, and those that just don't.
Yeah, and in the end, when you're looking at this roster for Team Secret, it's actually pretty cool where they come from, right? Jesse Vash apparently used to be like
Dota 2
a
player.
Dota 2 player, yeah, and is now like a sick player for this team, playing multiple roles, and this time playing Sage against Crazy Racoon. Again, it's like a good challenge still. I love the how do I call it, the humble interview that Dubstep has done at the end of their game. Is just like they were commenting on how Crazy Racoons are actually a really good team, but because they're actually from the same region and they scrim against each other a lot, you kind of have that figured out already. So that Crazy Racoon in any other situation against, let's say, like a group with Brazilian teams, North American teams, or European teams, they probably could have had a better chance. I mean, they still had a very good matchup against Gambit, if I'm not mistaken, right? In Masters 3?
Yeah, they did.
You know, they did pretty decently there as well. So
Almost
I think
gate-kept them.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think it would have been nice to see them in a different group, but luck of the draw, unlucky for Crazy Racoon.
Mm-hmm. Like I really don't know that much to add to this game. I was watching it with Kakuka, and both of us were just doing other stuff because like it was very clear it was just going to be very one-sided here.
Yeah.
Kind of match that has to be played out, but really nothing to take away from it. Nothing really teachable outside of the Crazy Racoon just did not. I mean, I think it is a mitigating factor, obviously, going up against a team who has experience playing against them, but it's not mitigating enough. So that's where we say goodbye to this mixed Japanese and South Korean roster. And we have more elimination matches, obviously, in that group. The last one, Vikings versus Secret, which went on while we were doing this. So obviously what we have for that is pretty limited here, but obviously we have a winner now. Team Secret win, 13-6, 13-7. I guess we do have material because our production crew is just insane.
Nice. I mean, we're just gonna watch these clips no matter what, because I can't analyze or say how these games went.
Yeah,
but
I didn't even watch it, right?
Yeah, so it's nice that this is nice for Team Secret at least, but definitely unfortunate for Brazil that have 0 team moving out to the quarterfinals after all. Where again, like I said, going into this group, it was like, I guess, a toss up of who was going to be that second team that's going to move forward. But speaking of out of from reality, is like, I wanted Crazy Racoons to make it through, but it was always between Team Secret and Vikings, but I didn't expect for it to be so one-sided on the results, so I'll have to look at these VODs.
No, definitely watching the game. Darks must be happy.
Absolutely. I mean, I think this team obviously is going to be a very scary one to go up against, I think, when we get to our single elimination bracket. Right? I don't know, man. I'm kind of...
we have the playoff bracket. Who are they facing?
I don't know if there'll be anything that's set in advance, right?
Yeah, they're facing against Acend, Team Secret.
Okay,
oh, shit.
I think that's probably the best one they could have gotten. Like,
yeah, it's Secret
I
Acend.
think if they go up against Liquid or Gambit again, I mean, they're not going to go up against Gambit again, but
okay, I guess
Fnatic and Liquid.
I guess I'm the only one that was playing out of heart. But yeah, Secret and Ascent and Cloud9 Blue versus Liquid so far, and Fnatic versus Crew. We're waiting to see whoever wins this series between Envy and X10 is going to play against Gambit now in quarters. Insane.
Okay.
The thing is,
Yeah,
I think that could be another upset, you know?
Well, I mean, if it gets to that point first, I mean, right now it's still fucking 4-1 right now for X10, so
yeah,
it could still be X10 versus Gambit at this rate. Fuck.
Yeah, I mean, so it's Ascend, Secret, Liquid, C9 Blue, the winner of Envy and X10 versus Gambit, and then Fnatic versus Crew. Man,
Why
so many.
Victor
Yeah, look at all these
Raze?
European teams.
I mean,
fucking Christ. I mean, I don't know how
Fnatic
likely it
versus
is.
Crew is going to be really...
It is possible that we have 4 European teams left in the semis.
nah.
Jesus. Oh my god.
Cloud9 wins
Nah,
champions.
there'll be one upset at
Yeah.
least.
Cloud9 wins champions.
Ooh.
Cloud9. You think
Yeah.
Cloud9 is going to
I
beat
don't think
Liquid?
they
and
get
then-
past Liquid.
Just like LCQ.
Cloud9 beating Liquid would be fucking... You know how insane it would be, right?
Oh, I know it would be insane.
Team went 0-11 and they won the map.
But
you would literally have to just not be playing.
But remember the form of Liquid going into Iceland. Who did they have to play against? Version 1.
Vanity.
Vanity as
Christ.
well.
What you
So we're
think-
going to play those games.
What, you
One
think he
guy,
just boomed
dude.
them
One guy
from,
with
like-
Caddy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They're going to want to win so badly that they're going to choke. Anyways,
And I don't know, man. No, I mean we can talk about this because I'm just saying what, and you think then if Envy beat X10, right? They have to go up against Gambit. Like there are 2 games. Both games have to be upsets. I think it's safe to say.
Yes.
No,
Pretty close to.
that has the most potential, I think, because
Mhm.
Gambit, like as they rightly say themselves, are a bit shaky
They're
right now.
not. They're not the best right now. They're
Yeah,
not the
even
best
on
right
their
now.
best maps, they're not looking like too
Who is the
hot.
best right now,
So,
guys? Who is the best right now?
Fnatic looks really fucking good. TBH.
Yeah.
Fnatic and Liquid. Yeah,
Yeah,
Fnatic and
Liquid, I
Liquid are
think.
probably the 2. And Cloud9, of course.
But actually, I'm so surprised. I'm not going to cover this group, but like I am so surprised, like with their performance.
Oh yeah.
We were just shit talking them so much last week, and then I think both still watched the VOD.
Yep.
So
Bolster watched the VOD. Anders watched the VOD. Everybody's watching VODs and just fucking are able to talk their talk, and I fully respect that.
Yeah. I mean, those. Yeah. Well, look, we'll see what happens there. Envy bring a round back, so it's 4-2 in favor of X10C. So
Yeah.
that's
About to be 5-2. Fuck.
that's fine. Well, I'm waiting for production to tell us what they want to do because yeah, we're gonna take a break because Ryan's not responding. We'll be back after the break, everybody, with our Group D recap. I know 2 breaks in 1 show. That's because we've just been so vehement. You know what I mean? The room's filling up with all this fucking hot air. I'm starting.
I'm not used to being angry. This is out of me.
Yeah, Vans is just struggling. All right, Nez, we'll catch up with you guys on the other side of this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Valoranting. I mean, yeah, big shout out to Mr. Ryan Central, obviously taking a break from his time on the Champions broadcast to hang out with this man all the way from Germany. Thanks for being here, bro. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to be here. You spotted the fucking degenerate dominoes in the background behind me. So, yeah, and we get to relive this yet again because I swear, like, watching my reaction from this, I felt my fight or flight kicking never ever experienced before. I was ever just going to sprint across the stage to where the players
Was Dash in on this?
No, he had no idea. Nobody had any idea. Every person from production, barring one, genuinely thought it was my birthday.
That's
all
hilarious.
the casters, but a bunch of the casters knew that it wasn't right. Like
Oh,
I
yeah,
know that
for sure.
I know that Tom here knows full well that it's not your birthday.
It was basically one of these things where me and Tom were talking about it on a cast, and then EMEA, so like Cameron, like the social media manager for EMEA, posted it, and then like Team Liquid and Gambit were posting happy birthday, like genuinely. And I think it's JB, somebody like that, I'm not sure what their role is, was like, oh, it's actually his birthday, let's get him a birthday cake, which is hilarious if you think back to Masters 3, because Gio got a little cupcake for her actual birthday, and then I get this full fucking whole 9 yards cake brought to me.
Oh my god.
It's not even your fucking birthday, homie. That is, I mean, it is, but it isn't, you know. It's always your birthday, but it's not, you know. That's, I mean, okay.
There was one person from production that knew, and that was Leah. And Leah's like our producer for EMEA, and she's assistant director for this. She just let it slide. She was like,
Listen,
because I remember,
I'm
like,
telling you,
like one of the main people, like Stefan, who's like one of the main like producers, and stuff, whatever. He spoke to Tom, and he was like, "You have a lot of explaining to do, Tom." And then Leah just comes in afterwards and says, "I hope you're happy." It was just
I mean, shit. Leah could have fucking intervened. I mean, okay, that's a whole other story.
She was never gonna do that. She knew how good it would be, and I think that was the nice experience about it. Yeah, just the fact that like that is literally for Gio a cupcake from just the food tent, and then I literally have a cake made and sent to me. It's still now, I think, sat in one of the Red Bull fridges in the green room.
What, you guys didn't even eat the cake?
Wants it.
I mean, at least
no,
you get
of course
cake,
not.
right?
Like in the scenario where we have like COVID restrictions, you think the one thing I'm going to do is like, hey, everybody, grab a slice of cake that's been on the desk.
That's true. That's true. Oh man,
was,
I mean, yeah, I can see the look on your face, man. You're trying to figure out how to respond. It's it's classic.
Well, listen. It's something I pride myself on, you know, being able to deal with technical difficulties if they happen, or just things that might go a bit wrong. That was something else. I felt like I was gonna like punch somebody and like run away screaming. I felt my mental had just gone. It was fantastic.
Man. Okay, well, Vans has got the police at his door because they finally realized that he showered with his dog this morning and they're here to apprehend him. So we're going to talk a little bit about this group, Ryan. Let's bring out the bracket, Group D. Thank you very much. We're trying not to take too much of Ryan's time here as we go through this. So, all right, pretty nasty group People are calling other groups group of death, but looking at this, right, like with VS, Fnatic, and Cloud9 in there, maybe the only reason I could imagine that people would maybe not think this was a group of death was continuing to underestimate Fnatic, which a lot of people have sort of admitted to having done. But was this a group of death to you? You know, has it panned out the way you thought it would?
I definitely think so, especially when you consider the Full Sense looked so good in the APAC qualifiers, right? It was one of those things where they were coming through and actually playing some good Valorant. It's a team that have some amazing players in like John Olsen and stuff like that when it comes to the impact that they have. It was still a pop-off group, to say the very least.
Yeah.
Even despite the fact that Full Sense, I think, underperformed a little bit. Like, if they actually win that map of Breeze against C9, it goes to overtime. I think it does highlight how good that group is overall. And again, like the fact that Vision Strikers maybe didn't live up to expectations is another weird one that I don't think people expected to necessarily happen again, especially in groups.
I don't know. Seth definitely didn't expect that to be the case based on his reaction to us asking him for a prediction.
And
but let's talk about
he's
this.
drinking himself into a hole at this point, I think.
Yeah, him and Paperthin.
I mean, listen, it's fine. I think though that the problem is that like, and you probably understand this, Ryan, obviously having spent so much time in Overwatch, is that you're conditioned. Like you're just waiting for it to happen. You flinch every time someone says South Korea in your video game because you know what they've done to you in Overwatch. You know, like it's Overwatch League is just 70% Korean at this point, and you know there's nothing you can do about it. They're just better at the game. So I kind of get that they're preempting this rise of Korean dominance, but hasn't happened quite yet. But before we talk about Vision Strikers, Vans, let's look at this first game of the group because we got a treat, right? We go into this group knowing that Fnatic are going to play against Cloud9 Blue, and expectations are sky high. I think they were met somehow.
I think they were exceeded. If you're actually a Fnatic fan, I think at this point, if you're looking at Fnatic and C9, looking at this matchup overall, you would everybody would think at this point that Fnatic would be the third team at least that's going to be coming out of this group, and it would be like a victory for C9 and a victory for Vision Strikers to make it out of group. But holy crap, that Durka come to play on this map of Icebox. He was like unstoppable actually when he was playing that defender offside for Fnatic. Overall, I think the series has been really, really close on both ends though, right? They went the distance on all three maps, which then comes to show how good Fnatic has improved, but how good also C9 is moving forward in the bracket.
I'd say as well, it was a bit of an underperformance from some players for Cloud9 in that series as well. Like Leaf and Zeppi, you sort of look at to continue that form, certainly from the end of Last Chance qualifiers, but it seemed more like a reset. The good thing, at least for C9, is that, yet again, much like Last Chance qualifiers, the stats and ACSs are going up for both those players. So I do genuinely think that they can give us a good showing against Liquid in the group.
Oh man,
there's a lot of banger semifinals. Like I'm not on the desk for that one. I think I'm on Telestrator if it's back up and going again. So like that.
Oh, that's why we haven't had Telestrator segments.
Yeah, there's a few reasons to it. I think it's just also like middle of a tournament. I think the main thing is just
technically they're really hard to troubleshoot as well. They're just a really nasty, onerous piece of tech to try and integrate into like the production workflows for esports.
Yeah.
And also just like the logistics, you know, for Masters 3, they had people doing Telestrators at half time, but if you have
to run out to the
half
truck
of Valorant, there's not much you can do. So like there's just been like how to make it better, make it useful, because it is a stressful thing, to say the very least, because you are looking to get that round locked in as soon as possible and then make sure that you can talk about it. It's been fun. Like I'm always down to do Telestrators. I think a lot of it, for me, this event has effectively kind of been an extension of what I tried to do at Campus Clutch, of just be as fucking useful as possible, right? Just be able to do as much as I can. Like if I need to cast because Mitch is like, his throat is fucked, so he needs a couple more days rest, that I have had the ability to actually cast at Champions is
Ryan,
insane.
Don't sell yourself short. You did good at fucking Red Bull Campus Clutch as well.
Yeah, thank you. It was just one of those areas where it's nice to be as useful as possible, right? Especially for somebody like me. There's so many great people from various games that have come in, right? Like you even like look at Sean, DDK, Mitch and Tom have had a great year. Pansy, Hypoc. It's just okay, I'm one of those fringe people that very easily could have been replaced by Vansili on the desk, Lofar, Kukuka. You get the point of just being able to go to some of these events and try and really give a full breadth of what I can do and give myself that experience has been fun. So yeah, being on Telestrate for that is good. And also I'm on the desk for Acend Team Secret, which genuinely could be Team Secret coming out on top, considering how Acend have looked.
Yeah,
fucking
dude,
insane.
that is like
Fucking
a trap
insane.
game and a
Yeah,
half, bro.
yeah.
I mean, Christ on a bike, that's gonna be sick. Hey, quickly, let's touch on Fracture in this series, right?
Oof.
Because Dirk is on the raise here. It's mad close, but Cloud9 looked like I thought they were gonna win it. I mean, they win like what 6 rounds in a row on attack to bring it back. They were in deep fucking trouble. They had what, like, I don't know, 6 rounds or so, and then they just go on a tear. Like, it was looking bad for them.
I'd say that Fnatic have C9 to thank for this, because I think a lot of the issues that Fnatic had on this map in particular, they had fixed by the time that they faced Vision Strikers, right?
Yeah, and poor Vision Strikers for that.
yeah, right. It definitely feels that Fnatic, this is their perfect kind of map. That you can't rely on Counter-Strike fundamentals to help you here. You have to be creative. You have to be dynamic. Anders has been fucking vindicated this whole event. I feel like you notice the difference that he himself has made. Just as a person, and I think not a lot of people really expected that kind of impact to come from. And I think that the creative aspect from him, the statistics lean, and just the ideas from all of the players like around, the fact that you don't have those like CS boomers that are very set in their ways, I think. The fact that like Fnatic as well used to be that unbind and aren't anymore, the fact that they could do that on Fracture is pretty insane.
Just a side note, there's a great example of trash talk. It doesn't require you to insult an entire region of players. Just putting it out there. Sometimes putting a little bit more effort into your trash talk it helps people be a lot more good-natured about it.
Come to an A, Bolster.
I really wonder what the celebration would have been if Fnatic knocked out Sentinels, because they've been sat on it since Reykjavik. So,
well, they have one. They have one prepared, right?
Yeah.
They won't get to use it.
Yeah, they're gonna have to wait a little bit longer, I think, at this point. So we'll see. But it's been really fun to watch Fnatic prove a lot of people wrong. You know,
the story was Durka, right? That people didn't have him on their top 20 list. I know, like, Sideshow was complaining about it.
He said that he was the worst. One of the worst Jets in the group. I think a lot of people have used that and embellished it to be one of the worst in the tournament. Not necessarily the Platchad said that, but the Platchad made the point of like John also because he has been on form. Like, I don't think that's necessarily a hot take. It's just
it's difficult.
Yeah.
There was lack of information on Durka since Iceland, right? So
I think all of the tournaments that you've seen from home ground and stuff and like stage 3 has been pretty uninspiring. And I think you could definitely see that Fnatic didn't want to show anything when it came to their home ground team. But why would they ever? You know, like that you can't really go in as a recency bias because so many teams other than Cloud9, especially those last chance qualifiers teams, have, on Team Liquid as well, haven't really come in looking that hot. The teams that have been really good recently have come into this tournament looking awkward. And Fnatic, I think, are only the few that maybe didn't show too much since the last event to now, despite playing tournaments, that actually blossomed. Because I think of like Vivo Keyd, they were a bit more awkward. Obviously, there were circumstances around that. Vision Strikers is the main one. You sort of expect them to go back to the laboratory and cook some other stuff on, but it really didn't sort of come to pass. Yeah. So Fnatic being able to do that and 40 EMEA teams in the top 4 spots was not on my Christmas card list.
It feels good, man, for sure.
Yeah. Hopefully people can watch the region now next year, you know?
And that's it. I think I have to commend Durka a lot for sure for Fnatic, but also for Boaster, right? Overall, of how he's led this team. Because there's comms that came out from Vision Strikers versus Cloud9 where you could catch on YouTube on the Fnatic page. And when you compare the comms that went into this one versus Cloud9 versus the comms that came out in Iceland, for example, when he was telling and micromanaging every single one of his players on what to do on bind, you saw the difference. And Boaster talked about that as well, was to like, I now have a chance to let my team do what they need to do and micromanage a lot less. And you see that the chemistry is even a lot better for Fnatic as a whole. So I think you have to commend, again, Anders a lot and their coach, Mini, on how much they've prepared the team. And then the only thing that the players need to do overall is to practice their tech, which is why when I saw Durka play this Raze, the way that he satchel charge into the sites or he's moving around on split on his satchel charges as Raze was just so nice and so good. So overall, their chemistry and their ability usage looked way better than any other team in that group.
Yeah, I think the most obvious example of a glow up in that team now is Doma. Like he was a player that because he was, I think like X Fortnite, it was always those moments that sort of where time felt like it stopped, zero gravity. That I think that's where like Doma comes in and gets a triple kill, just unreal plays in the moment. But now you can sort of tell that he knows exactly what he should be doing in a given round in a given situation. I think that's why I think one of the biggest examples for EU that's been doing that has been Pipson for Vodafone Giants, now probably G2, right? Like it's just the whole, all right, we're on defensive bind, we lose a player in showers, we lose a Viper, for example. How does that differentiate, like almost different branches and strands of where the teams go, depending on what happens in the round? And the fact that you have Doma being able to fulfill that role, something like a Sage on Icebox, which typically you don't see an awful lot of impact from, having those post plants retake walls to stop that post plant utility coming in, like Snake Bison stuff onto a spike, shows impact, but also the fact that he can use those walls, boost himself off of them like a fucking Twitch streamer and get free kills. That's the perfect way to find success with Doma. He still has that magic about him, all of Fnatic do, but there's also that reliance of, I don't know what to do in this situation. I need to think back to what was drilled into me. All right, I do follow step A, B, and C. Like that is why Fnatic look fundamentally one of the strongest teams in the tournament at this point, because they have such a good understanding of what they need to be doing.
Let's talk about Vision Strikers in full sense, gentlemen. Not the most competitive of games here, but obviously the first time we get to see what this VS team look like and how full sense are stacking up. Not great is the answer. I mean, it's like a 9-3 first half on Haven, right? And obviously, memes aside, like it doesn't really look like full sense knew how to match Vision Strikers as they just sort of got at these different bomb sites. And there's another case of a breach just fragging out. Stax has a really good game.
Yeah. Also, in the end, I think what I have to do is commend full sense overall, even if they've lost 0-2 against Vision Strikers in Cloud9. Going into this tournament, the storyline was always about, oh, how is PTC going to do? How is John Olsen going to do? And for me, it's always about those two, right? If it's not those two that's going to step up, then they kind of like fall flat into like the mid round and the late round. But I still have to give it to Lammy Snacks. I think Lammy Snacks, Superbus, and even Chalalala, they actually stepped up to the plate going into the bigger stages and looked a lot better than they did in their online tournaments, where they didn't have to rely onto PTC and onto John Olsen that much. So props to them. I think this SEA region, especially now that you see like Team Secret that qualified and that potentially now X10 is looking to upset Envy at the half here, like this region is not to be messed with. There's just so much competition locally there where they kind of like get to know each other, but overall they're catching up to the rest of the regions quite well.
Yeah, I mean, I saw this series more as a Vision Strikers look really, really scary, which again, now with all of the context and everything that's happened in that group, it definitely felt the full sense maybe didn't live up to expectation. But with this group, that's more than understandable. It didn't seem really like nerves, after they had lost to Cloud9, even in the embarrassing fashion that they did, which I guess is something that we'll talk about in a second. They were still laughing and smiling once they were fist bumping on their way out. So it was experience for them. It was a good showing, I suppose, of how good the SEA region has been. I think all three of the teams that are in this tournament have been exactly that, which has been nice. But realistically, they were the underperformer, I think, of maybe the tournament to an extent. Not that I expected Full Sense to go and do some crazy work, but I expected to maybe scare Vision Strikers in Cloud9 a little more. And, well, there was a reason why I think Plat Chat and stuff had Full Sense beating Fnatic when you're looking at like previous form coming into this tournament as well.
Right, with the caveat that I think that Fnatic were still being underrated and they were calling.
Yeah, but even if Fnatic came in looking all right, decent, like they didn't like some maps on home ground, they looked all right, like 13-3 finish against FPX on the map. I said that to Bosto. I was like, wait, now that you've beaten Cloud9 on this map and then Vision Strikers, does that mean that FPX is the second best team on Fracture in the world? And he was like, yeah, I think so. So yeah, it was it's been good to like meet and talk to everybody like that as well.
For sure, for sure.
I mean, these two teams got to meet as well. Not in maybe the way that they expected, though. Quite a sick matchup. I think everyone was really excited for this one, and this was the true test, I think, for Vision Strikers, right? Fnatic were already impressing people, and there was a good Fnatic had already beaten C9, right? So people weren't too worried if Fnatic maybe dropped down to the lower bracket. They believe they can get out. It's this game that really matters. Fnatic get off to a good start here, win the pistol, and cruise to an early lead here. Vision Strikers definitely give as good as they get. This is obviously this round was 1v2 here to win it.
This angle though, it's also
Dirty.
the fact that I think that Mako should have probably known that. Like he is, and the issue with Mako is that he's an insane player. Like there was a Paperthin was telling me about it. There was like a Jet 1v1 tournament that happened in Korea, and it was Mako that won it. Like out of all of the Jets in Korea, it was the Astra player in the end. So
Well, they're all Jet players.
Yeah, out of all of the insane Korean players, it's a player that's been put on Astra that went in and did a lot of work. And his Astra is definitely world class, one of the best in the world, I think, even in line with Mouth. But I think there's a couple of players that have been outperforming them both a little bit in this tournament. So I think it was a bit of uncomfiness when it comes to the Astra in particular. And again, this is a situation where Fnatic had the lead. They kind of let it slide. That's probably the thing that concerns me the most about Fnatic going forward is just nerves if things start to go wrong. And it's, again, been the same story for a few teams start.
Yeah. I think this series overall just proved how close it could still be, how Vision Strikers still has a lot of potential, and how Vision Strikers could continue to be a very strong contender. But can we start saying now that they're falling a little bit off of like the top 4 kind of thing? I think so as well. After watching this game and their matchup against Cloud9 as well. Even on the third map when they're playing against Fnatic 2, this Fracture game, whereas like, we always think that it's going to be Vision Strikers, and back then it was also going to be like Absolute Jupiter, the kings of trying to figure out how to combine this ability usage. But look at this, man. Look at the ability usage from Fnatic at that point.
Oh my god,
they had everything on lock, man, to prevent Vision Strikers to get anything done on this map. How much time?
The defensive pops are so sick here.
Their defensive pop and also their attacker pop, actually, because I think it's King, right, that plays Killjoy, into the A tower. How many times was he getting boomed by like Aftershock and paint shells up in A tower with like gravity wells or whatnot? He was just dying from abilities every fucking round, and it was just unfair, and it felt so bad because there was no other spots that he could have fucking played to be able to watch Arcade. Maybe he played from the floor or whatnot, but it definitely showed how Fnatic, again, how good Bolster is, how he understands his game to really help this team out.
Yeah, it's been a good showing for the most part from Fnatic. The map pool is looking pretty decent. And yeah, I can't sing any more praises about all of the EMEA teams that have come in and done well. Like, and it's also the fact that all of the teams at one point or another looked shit. You know what I mean? Like, there's no firm favorite. Maybe Team Liquid just because of like the context, but even then they got blasted like 13-3 on Bind. So the map pool's being open. The fact that some teams are dynamically changing their map pools, their picks and their bans as they go through the tournament. Like Team Secret Vikings completely turning what they usually play on their heads. And Envy almost being lamented and punished because they didn't change their map pool at all when going up against Acend, right? They didn't ban out Bind, knowing full well that Ascend's Bind was world class. So, yeah, the map pool side of it has been really good. The teams that haven't played in months on end still having some maps that they haven't shown on stage yet, right? So, like, playoffs is just going to be insane when it comes to that. And this group has just been a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, Cloud9 obviously going down the lower bracket, but still having such a competitive game. They go up against this Full Sense team. Is it much here? Really, guys? I think Full Sense obviously have to run a pretty nasty gauntlet, but they make it. Look, I don't think Split was, incredibly competitive. They just couldn't do anything on the attacking side. Cloud9 just had really good reads, but I want to talk about this Breeze map briefly, if we can. Because you mentioned that sort of, Leaf having a couple quiet performances against Fnatic in the first place. Felt like he definitely was able to step up on this map and really start to make some impact. The guy, by the way, looks like he's just fucking dragged himself out of the Yukon, though.
Yeah. Honestly, with how
he
the
talk
way
to
that
wolves?
these Cloud9 guys play, I mean, they're all handsome men, but they don't. I was expecting like the full like Chad jawline kind of look for most of them, and they do it like just with the long hair, like, just like rabid animals ready to be let loose on the server. And
Yeah.
I'm really glad that things worked out this way for Cloud9.
Oh, no way.
Like watching them in LCQ, it's again disappointing, but if the reactions are even left on, you just sort of see
That
all of Full
round.
Sense being like, oh well, GG's. I think all things considered, you wouldn't really like the fact that Vanity's just like pretty much pissing his pants.
What happened there?
laughing.
Does Superbus not realize that there's like the defuse is as far along as it is, or
I guess so.
would-
I think it was just a bit of panic setting in.
Mhm.
But also like C9's Breeze looks like that. Also with the fact that they dominantly won Split. Split was a map that from Cloud9 in LCQ, they kind of banned out a lot of the time and then picked and chose it between Split and then Haven because Haven kind of got dogged on by Rise at one point. So they like beat Gen G on it, you know, and it was like, all right, this is decent. Like it went to overtime, I think. It's like it's all right, but the fact that like it looks a lot better now, yeah, I think that Cloud9 aren't done necessarily in this tournament. Part of me would really like it if we see 4 EMEA teams in the semis, just because I think that would just destroy a lot of like the NA fans. Yeah, right.
Boring.
Like, but I think that Cloud9 has the better chance to do well in this tournament than Envy at the moment, just because their bounce back ability is so much better than Envy, who didn't really have to do that at all in Masters 3, right? They didn't drop a map until the finals, and now they've lost a series and a few maps. It's a case of how can they bring that back, especially with Chet. It's a different kind of atmosphere than it might have been with Mike's, not necessarily to scapegoat Chet, but it's just a lot of different things for the teams to deal with that they didn't necessarily have to go through in Masters.
Mike's is going to be coming after you now. He hates getting mentioned at the same time as Chet. Fucking drives him nuts. Fair enough, though. By the way, Envy are in the lead in this series now, Van, so you can fucking call your Jets, all right? Let's talk about the last game then in this group, which was, I mean, Vision Strike is going up against another challenger here, and it's their last chance to prove themselves, guys. And they had just some tantalizingly close games across the course of this tournament, right? And they had a really hard group. I think everyone felt like this was a really fucking brutal group. And again, they're able to play it close. As well. Like Cloud9 absolutely dumpstered the first half. Like just Vision Strikers took so long to get going, they brought it close, and then it's just the way that we see Cloud9 mid-rounding and such on a map again that they, I think, pulled out of the tournament. They banned it initially against Fnatic, right? Because I guess they felt that they not necessarily had too much new to show, to the point that they have Zeppa moving away from the carry to play Sage in LCQ. So the fact that they come back, sort of show an overload, a great adaptation on this map in a series like this, again, I think that they banned this against Full Sense. They fucking banned this map.
So this was the only time that they didn't ban it.
Yeah. So strange. Maybe they just wanted to save it, like just to take a team like VS by surprise, right?
I feel so
ban
as
it
well.
the rest of the time.
Ascend versus Team Liquid would be a hell of a matchup, but Team Liquid's Ascent has always been pretty insane. Like again, it's just some of the stylistic matchups in this tournament have been great, and especially when they're pretty decent on the same maps but play it in two very different ways, like Ascent would be for TL and Cloud9. That's the kicker for me.
Yeah, I mean, this obviously the split from Cloud9 here, not bad, but not really enough. Obviously, after that really solid first showing.
I mean, when you have 11-1 on the 11-1 on the half, and you're basically going into the second half, you've lost Pistol, but you're like, we want to break that momentum early because we've already won 11 rounds in a row or whatnot. Let's just try to break the economy down by force buying and just end it there. And I think once they lost that, then that's where it got things got a little bit closer against Vision Strikers because they had to get their economy right. Once you got the economy right, once you got their ultimate rounds, so on both of their rounds where their ultimates came back on the attacker side, they were able to win the round there, or win the rounds for Cloud9 to win the series. This one at least was like a little bit more back and forth. It was actually quite nice. I think King did a really good job on like lurking down towards the A side holes for these hits for Vision Strikers in the end. But that it finishes this way on a half buy, yeah, from C9 to win this, that was unfortunate there for the team, for Vision Strikers. Cloud9 just. I don't know what it is, Ryan, but it seems at this event, all these half buys and lower buys just works out so well for
a
any
lot of them have
teams.
been working.
It
out
just
in
breaks the
general.
mental.
Yeah.
Just absolutely breaks the mental. I mean, this was very much a last-ditch attempt, and
wonder if it's like a zero ping type of thing, you know, where all the ecos just seems to be working very well too.
Yeah, I think so. And also just the spectrum, I suppose, of teams that are very good at being anti-eco, like Cloud9, just being able to get those 50 rounds together versus those really impressive teams that can't beat an eco for the life of them. It's that again has been one of the more important aspects of the tournament that has been very difficult to highlight. And from watching Mitch kind of get so much shit throughout the year on Cloud9 to now being one of the main foundational points of this team doing well has been really nice, especially when like Poise and Zeppa came onto that team. A lot of people are expecting Mitch to be the one to be dropped. So the fact that he's not only bounced back, but looks like
and she's fragging
best
Killjoy
Sentinel.
fucking operator. It's fucking sick.
He's out Sentinel in Sentinels with Dapper for one, and also FNS has sort of had a struggle of a tournament as well. So like he has had huge impact, like top 20 player, I think, impact for this team, which considering the role is very surprising. And also, like with Zephyr and Leaf not doing that well, Mitch has been probably the most consistent player on this roster. Gazetta, much more passive than you expect. Vanity as well, sort of come and gone in series, but Mitch has been incredibly clutch, and he deserves a lot more recognition for that, I think.
Yeah, quite the comeuppance there as well. So congrats to Mitch. And let's have a look at the 18 bracket then, the playoffs bracket, GSL style. Yeah, so this is single elimination. So we have a more updated version of this, just not in this form here. So it's Acend Team Secret in that first quarterfinal. Then it's Liquid versus Cloud9 Blue. Then Gambit versus the winner of Envy and X10, and then Fnatic versus Crew. Some of those seem a little more straightforward than others. I look as good as Crew look. I think Fnatic are probably going to be a little bit more agnostic to the way Crew were able to take the game over against the Sentinels. And we talked about Sentinels' problems, especially their split play, right, which has really plagued them throughout this tournament. But we got some banger matchups here, and there are some danger ones, right? Some real upset potential. But I mean, NA's chances look. I mean, Gambit looks like it's the easiest team for them to get through, but
I'm not gonna lie,
Envy's not NA's best team at the tournament right now.
I think Liquid probably would be the favorite ones, but I think in the end, looking at the quarterfinals here, there's also great potential that the top 4 EMEA teams that made it out of their groups are also the top 4 teams that are gonna lose.
And it's just like, what do you mean? You think what all the EMEA teams are gonna get booted out?
Yeah, Secret could upset.
Counterpoint. The only teams left in the semis could also be EMEA teams, fans. That is also
literally
possible.
50-50.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Which I go with
all
the
I'm
first
saying
point,
is that
the first part.
What happens to NA fans if it's only European teams in the semis? What happens to you guys?
You take all our players.
That's exactly. Exactly. That's probably what's going to happen.
No. They're going to pull their money. Carlos is going to form a syndicate. They're going to bring out like Arnaud Vidal from, Heretics back in, because Arnaud has a bit of extra money since dealing with Carlos, and they're going to put it all together, and they're just going to fucking hold the line,
The tweets did come out saying that the buyouts for stuff like that for North American players are just way too fucking much. So you have to look elsewhere. So it does make sense, but we'll see what happens during the roster shakeup season after Champions, sorry.
Yeah. It kind of feels like it's just going to boom the market if the buyouts are so much for various teams just for that reason. And also if so many organizations are pushing their players to stream more and then the players are just making more money from that, you get in positions where you look at like Shazam as well, like the future for him as a player. I wouldn't blame him for either of the decisions that he make, but realistically, like the Ogs probably wouldn't have wanted that, but it was probably them that have sort of pushed and let Shazam sort of lean into that streaming aspect more. Also, with signing 10s, it sort of adds to it. So, yeah, I mean, EMEA, like these are the kind of players like Doma, for example, who could go and fucking win champions and go back to a stream in front of 300 people on Twitch. You know, it's not a priority for them in the same way. Like, sure, you've got Boaster, but he's a bit of an anomaly, as we know. So I think that, especially
he's like a
when
3K average viewer streamer, Boaster is. He does very well.
Sometimes it goes up and down depending, but I guess my point is that overall,
Popular
you
in
also
China.
just look at the size of the region. Yeah. But like you got APAC, for example, which is just all like, if that's imagine APAC or South America as qualifiers that all of the teams from those various regions have to play into. Like Japan, Korea, Southeast Asia, only 3 or 4 of those teams actually make it to a Masters event, as opposed to the 1 from Japan, the 1 from SEA, the 2 from Korea.
Yeah.
It just, sure, you might just get 4 Korean teams to begin with, but I can promise you after 6 to 8 months, it's not going to be the case. And I think we even saw that a bit more with Last Chance Qualifiers being a Japan Southeast Asian final with no Korean teams really doing that well. Obviously, there's context and reasons for stuff like Damwon, but you get my point. I think EMEA was set up to do this well, but even then, it surprised me that it's going this well so far.
All right, I'm gonna fucking let everyone go because we've got the end of map 1 to watch here on Icebox.
Let's
between
go.
Envy and X10C. Ryan, thanks for coming on, man. Yeah, we've really plucked you out of the middle of champions, man. So
and great
thanks for
job
coming
so
on
far,
the show.
dude. You're killing it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really interesting to sort of like work on how to do stuff. I've had lots of advice from like Rave, Sideshows, being in touch, Sean, mostly just of like when to talk about stuff and what, because I think naturally you kind of get pushed and laid into doing like the basic story stuff and the narratives for the casual audience. But of course, as people want to be the big brains on the desk, right? Show a bit of nuance. So
Don't always have to be, man. At the end of the
No.
day, you just got to do you. Just keep your own personality too.
yeah, the best advice I got from Rave is just talk about what you find the most interesting, which is an obvious thing, but it's the most true.
And then the best you can do is plug into what everyone else finds interesting. I feel that's like a secret to success. So hopefully it keeps going well for you. I want to shout out Tanny as well for coming on board for a bit longer as well. And of course, Psycho, man, it's really great to have these huge brains that are offering up their time to add value to our show. So we're eternally grateful, everybody. Go and enjoy Champions, everyone, and the break, of course. We'll be back next week. There'll still be more Champions to talk about. Thanks for joining us. It's been a long show, so I appreciate it if you made it this far. We'll see you guys next week.